This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to your sunset safari of today. Now the sun of course has not set yet, but we're just admiring all the clouds in the sky. I believe a thunderstorm is on its way, so hopefully we will stay dry, but buckle up everyone. It's that time of day for your live safari through the African bush. Welcome everyone. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. It's a very hot and sticky afternoon. One would call it humid and not so pleasant to sit in. But something is rolling in, so we're just admiring these extremely dramatic skies off in the distance before we begin our bumble. My name is Lauren. I do have Davi on camera once again. And we have lots of plans for this afternoon. Davi's dancing. I'm not sure why. Why are you dancing, Davi? And we're going to drive past a hyena den. And just because, well, you never know. And then we're going to head to Chitwa. Steve found 2 leopards this morning, so I think Davi and I are going to find 3. How does that sound? Anyway, back to the weather. It's 33 degrees Celsius and 92 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's hot, just extremely humid. And of course, this is your live safari, so please do talk to us. You can send in your questions using the hashtag WildEarth on Twitter. You can use @FC on the YouTube chat. And if you're under 18, you must talk to us. That's a rule. You must. Please email us your questions, kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Or you can actually register on the WildEarth website. You head over to the live safari page and you can submit your questions there. Lots of different options for you. People love options, don't they? I am just going to... Very humid. This is more Asian climate than African, I would say. Normally it's quite dry out here, but I have to say it's very humid today. So we're going to bumble on and see what else we can find. Now, I don't know if this is still the after effects of the cyclone. As many of you know, we were hit with the after effects of a cyclone, or if this is just normal summer. Summer in the low veld brings lots of thunderstorms. It's completely normal. And it's all to do with different pressure systems. Now, climates in South Africa are affected by 2 different currents, 2 different oceanic currents, latitude and longitude. It's the 4 different sort of factors that will affect your climate. And of course, once summer comes along and all the different pressure systems are moving in from different oceans, that brings together, well, a convection cell, which means you get thunderstorms. Lots of rain, lots of thunder, lots of lightning. And that's why summer is so green, at least out here in the low veld. So I'm not sure what we're in store for tonight. But Steve does say there's going to be lots of lightning. So, well, let's believe Steve. So as I bumble towards the hyena den, we are going to send you off to another location.
Hello and good afternoon, everybody. A wonderful afternoon coming to you live from here on Buffelshoek. My name is Steve. I'm joined by Sebastian over there on the car, and we are very excited to have you with us. It is Monday. The weather is hot with a capital H, and I'm going to try and delve into some medicinal plants today. Now, I was asked a very wonderful question by a young boy the other day, by Ruben from Jacana. He's one of the landowner's sons, and he said to me, why are the elephants destroying the falbworm, which is the Terminalia sericea, which is this one? Why are they destroying this tree? And at the moment, there's enormous amount of elephant damage on this specific tree. And I'll identify the tree for you. I'll show you a lot about it. But what's very interesting about it is its habitat and what it indicates. You can quite easily see over here where we've got the band of Terminalia. There's a band of it. And then to the left, it's a very open area. Lots of grass. lots of grass. And so essentially what this tree indicates is a seep line on sandy soil. So what is a seep line? What does a seep line mean? There's a couple different types of seep lines, but specifically here in the granitic soils of Djuma, the seep line is where the sandy soil meets a clay layer. And what that happens, what that causes is where the water runs into the ground from the top here. It runs into the ground and it goes into the sand, and then it hits the clay and it pushes up. If there's enough water, it will actually push up. If there's not, you won't see anything. This time of year, we talk about the seeps, we talk about where we can drive, where we can't drive. Seep line activity now is very, very, very strong. So we'll show you some of those. And the Terminalia sericea band is a very good indicator of where that is. So in the dry season, you can see where the trees are growing. In low rainfall areas or periods, you can see where the trees are growing, but this time of year we'll actually see physical water coming out from the ground. So we're going to talk about this tree, why it occurs where it does exactly, and detail some of the medicinal properties, and then maybe we can elaborate on why the elephants are eating it right now. How does that sound? But at the same time, we're going to find you some animals, and the animals are also feeding around the seep lines. Yesterday we had that herd of buffalo just around the corner feeding in the seep line. The elephants are feeding in the seep line. There's lots of water, lots of moisture, and nutrients being washed from the top, go down into the sand, and it pushes up with the clay. So this grassland that we find just below the seep is quite nutritious and also generally devoid of most trees, because many of the trees can't actually grow inside the moisture that occurs there. So you often get these open bands, and if not managed correctly, those areas can be eroded quite heavily and can be encroached if they're not managed correctly. Because a seep line that's not managed correctly doesn't get the same moisture that it comes normally, and so you'll see a complete change in the ecology. So watch this space. We're going to be dealing a lot with the Terminalia sericea this afternoon, and while we get on to our next area, we'll send you over to andBeyond Phinda.
And welcome to with these slightly longer grass here, so we'd expect them to get they barely possible would be.
Welcome back. Sorry about that. We haven't gotten very far along this road. I know that the buffalo were sort of in this area last night, or should I say this morning. I had them just on that side of the hill, and I heard someone call them in around Kaiki Piring clearing, which is sort of this area here. We'll just see if we can pick up on them, and then I'm going to harvest. You see how over here, these are not that fresh, but on this side, these are pretty freshly damaged Terminalias right here, pushed over by elephants. Why are they pushed over? Well, first of all, they're in the way. Elephants might be trying to get to the nice nutrient-rich grass underneath, and there's lots of nutrients in the plant itself. They like to feed on the leaves, the bark, and the pods. So I will be harvesting from trees that have been damaged and been pushed over already, because I feel that that's the best way to do so. From an ecological point of view, only need a little bit of the medicine. We don't need to damage too much, but have a look as well that these trees are pushed over, but yet are they going to die? Let's have a little look. I don't think they're going to die. They don't even look like they might not have even been from this year. But in saying that as well, when the seep line gets full, the ground here gets quite soft. So the ground here is actually, look at that, very sandy soil, very, very sandy. So this is occurring where the sand, and then just underneath somewhere is where the clay layer hits, and that's where the moisture comes up. So these trees are a very good indication of exactly that. So this tree has actually been snapped at the base, at the roots, which is quite incredible. An elephant just went broken. And he was probably just walking through here. Another one broken here, another one broken there. Really didn't require too much energy for an elephant, but the wood is very heavy and very, very hard. Okay, well, we're going to carry on. I've got some wood for me now, and we'll send you back over to Djuma and Lauren, see if she's had any luck with the hyenas.
We have the cutest scene. One that's going to be very short and sweet. We've just arrived. 2 sleepyheads. I don't think they realise how much I've missed them, but no adults, I'm afraid. So we do have Corky's daughter on the right, who is looking more and more like a hyena. It's terrifying. And I don't know if it's Ngwazi or one of Heart's cubs on the left, I'm afraid. I'd need to see them stand up. But this is obviously what happens during the day. It's hot, it's sticky, it's humid, so they come out of the den, but they still need to sleep. They are nocturnal after all. So they will spend their night times being busy, and, well, during the day they sleep. If you can imagine, there's 6 cubs that we know of in there. It's going to be very hot, very smelly, very sticky. So that's why they come outside and they sleep at the entrance. But because there's no adults, as many of you know, we leave. We're allowed to come, we're allowed to check, we're allowed to assess the scene. But then if there really is no adult, it's sort of our professional etiquette and our responsibility to just leave. We don't want to encourage cubs to come out. Ravi will give you a little view as we drive by. Bye, guys. Yes, you don't want to encourage the cubs to come out and be very responsive to the car and playful and leave them vulnerable to any predators. At least if there's an adult around, like Ribbon or Heart or Corky or June, they will chase away any threat. They'll stand their ground. They'll look after their young. But if the young are out playing with us while there's no adults, it's just very irresponsible, and it goes against our code of conduct. So at least I got to see them, albeit very briefly. But there's lots of promise around Miss and Tima. So that is Philemon's den number 3. And I'm quickly going to point out, or actually it's completely overgrown, but this is Philemon's den number 2, my favourite one. The largest one, and this is where the clan started out. Believe it or not, this huge termite mound was once their den. I absolutely love it. I think it's great. And Ribbon used it. This is where Davy and I first found Ribbon with their 2 bundles of joy. And then Heart used it. So I wonder, I check it every single day because it's in very close proximity. They're both on the same road. And I check it every single day just in case Intima's maybe there. I wonder if she has got cubs. I mean, she's got very pronounced mammary gland. She's definitely pregnant or given birth. So that's my mission in the next few weeks, to find Intima. So I'm going to keep bumbling south, and for now, we're going to send you across to Phinda to say good afternoon.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, everyone. I think with this overcast weather today, the signal's bumping around a little bit, but I'm glad it's managed to stabilize. But look at now, these cheetahs starting to slowly get up, look around. We've been seeing them groom themselves a little bit, groom each other. So all good signs that they may possibly start to get moving around a little bit. Look at that one now, just getting up. Really nice and close to his sibling there. It is quite a cold afternoon too, so maybe they're just keeping close to keep a little bit of warmth as well. My name's Pete, and behind the camera today we have Glenn. And it's a really nice afternoon. It's starting to rain a little bit today, so hopefully the weather stands out, and we managed to stay with these cheetah for quite a while now. Those 2 lying down just a little bit again. You can see that one that's sitting up is just starting to groom itself. We'd expect these behaviors now, we call them contagious behaviors, and they'll start grooming themselves, yawning a little bit, and that typical cat stretch of when they put up their spine, also something we expect just before they start to get moving. But they're a little bit indecisive at the moment. You see those 2 that were originally standing up have now laid down again. and here we go, the other one lies down. But always so exciting to find these cheetah. There have been some lions around in this area, so I'm sure they are very attentive, keeping an eye out. They might have picked up on the scent, because they moved away quite a bit from where they were last night. You can imagine at this young age, they're still quite vulnerable to other predators, and lions are probably the main culprit for cheetah being affected. Especially these cheetah not having their mother around, they haven't quite gained that experience yet of knowing the dangers that are out there. Look at that next one, just getting up slowly. He's still a bit shaky at the legs. It almost looks like that one sat right on its sibling's head there. Not too. Oh no, on its tail. They seem to not be enjoying this weather too much. If you look at the one that's on the right-hand side, got his eyes closed a little bit, head down, and trying to get a little bit of shelter from the little bushes around them. But we're going to stay here for a little while, see what they get up to, and hopefully they start moving around in the next little while.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily. If you love to watch WildEarth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic WildEarth expeditions, join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day.
Hi, I'm Mike Anderson, and I come to you live every day from Eco-Training Pridelands Conservancy in South Africa. The wild animal I think is most underrated. I think buffaloes are the most underrated. They're so tenacious and ferocious, and also very, very protective of each other, which I find incredible. You know, sometimes people think of the big five, they just think of lions and leopards and other big animals, but I think buffaloes are pretty underrated.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
In a world full of upheaval, we all need a quiet and safe space to breathe. A place where anxiety and stress don't exist. A place where life carries on as normal. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
Welcome back, everybody. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find these buffalo. Have a look at this swathe of grass here that's been pushed down on my right-hand side. It looks like a flood. Looks like a flood of water. The buffalo tracks are all over here. We're on Buffelshoek. We're just outside of Hyggas camp, and the buffalo have walked towards the pan over here. So there's a watering hole outside. We're going to go have a look if they have crossed. I'm not sure if we're going to dip though in a signal when we go through here, but it's possible. All heading that way. Are they in the shade right here, or are they on the other side? If they've gone to the other side, we're going to have to turn back. So we're getting a little bit too deep. Water is the currency of life. Gone. Sorry about the sun is warm. I don't hear any buffalo. Hopefully they've hit the water and gone back east. I'm just going to go over the wall and have a look to see where they've probably gone, but I think they would have gone back that way. Let's have a look, shall we?
Sure they will be right back with us. Now we are just flying the highway, as we like to call it, the southern boundary. I don't know why. Southern boundary is my absolutely favourite boundary. It's not a good road. I just love the information you can gather, and we are heading to Cheetah.
Don't come, sir. Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. These cheetah have decided to lay down a little bit. I think with this little bit of wind and still quite cool, they possibly just want to keep warm from each other. You can see they're all lying really, really close to each other. When you're watching cheetah, because they're so vulnerable, they know that they are one of the smaller cats. So often you'll see one head pop up and scan around, and they take turns to do this. One will look up and check the surroundings, make sure there are no predators approaching, and it'll be every couple of minutes. And with 5 being around, you can see that one just on the right has not just popped his head up. Just a little look around, smell the air a little bit, see if they pick up any scents, and then head back down. Look at those ears just flicking as well. Maybe there are a few flies around. Yeah, thanks, Susie. I am very happy to see them as well. We were a little bit worried last night because only 3 of them were seen, and there were lions in the same area, so we thought, oh no, the lions possibly might have caught 2 of them, but this morning we found them again, and all 5 were back together, so it's a very big relief. Look at that one just on the left there now, just got his head tucked on top of a leg, on his leg. Just keeping nice and warm. Love watching them as well. If you just look at that one that's on the left, you can see that long fur still on the back of the neck. It just shows their youth quite well. And as they get a little bit older, in about a year's time, that fur will be completely gone. And it's just, I don't know if you've ever seen a very young cheetah cub. They've got that mane that runs all the way from their head down towards the base of their tail. And it just helps them camouflage really, really well when they in that initial denning stage. Yeah, Megan, they are very, very sweet. Very, very happy that they've all survived. We were discussing how they've been on their own for about just over a month, and they've done so well. They've had a few encounters with larger predators, with leopards and lions, and they've managed to escape each and every time. So we're very optimistic about the survival of all 5 of them. At the beginning, initially we were a little bit worried, especially them being only about 10, 11 months, and without the guidance of their mother. We're a bit concerned that they weren't going to be able to do as well as they've been doing, and they've been catching their own prey and managing to actually get around a large portion of the reserve. They're just starting to explore quite a lot more now, learning their areas, their territories, where they'd like to have their home range. We're very lucky that they've chosen the south of the reserve, a really nice area for us to view them. William, they will live for just over 12 years in the wild, and captivity a little bit longer. But also it just depends on the type of area that they're in, and just the pressures that they're under. Here we have a lot of predators around, so when the cheetah get a little bit older and they start to get a bit slower, it's really hard for them to keep away from some of the larger predators. The one on the right just putting his head up again, he seems to be the most attentive, the one that's most concerned with what's around. You can see those sleepy eyes still. As you can see that the wind's coming from the right-hand side, and they've chosen quite a nice little bush there that's kind of protecting them from that wind on the right. So we're going to sit here for a while, see if they start to move around, and we're going to send you off to Steve, who's got some much larger animals.
Well, everybody, we found them. We found the herd, not far away. Sorry we lost signaling with you there. We just had to go through a little dip. Oh, some very small little buffaloes in this herd. It is the breeding time for them. And so that's why this time of year, you won't expect them to be very far away from where you found them before, because they're moving in response to the youngsters. And obviously they need moisture and water. And so there's lots of grazing around at the moment, so they don't have to go very far. But I'll show you shortly the movement that this herd's done since we've encountered them, so you get an understanding of where they've been and what they've been doing. I told you the sort of routes that they choose, the angle that they go at. I'll show you the sustainability of the vegetation, and here in the shade, this lady here, if you come back towards us, you'll see how they flattened all the grass here on our right hand side. It's not only the eating that they do, it's also the trampling effect that they've done by lying here. How wonderful. Buffalo in Buffelshoek. So here we've got the Buffelshoek map. And the herd came in the other day from Simbambili. They came in, they went to that watering hole over there. we found them first time in the afternoon was there. They walked through, and then Tristan found them in the morning over there around Tambuti Dam. We then found them in the afternoon over here. They then went to Rubbing Post Dam. I had them again finally last night over there. They were then found at this dam again in the morning. So they probably did one of these. And then we tracked them just now to this watering hole. And now we have them over here, close to Triple Pan. So you can see, but it's a big herd though. It's not just one straight line. It's a massive line of them moving through. And as they go, they're just munching the grass, they're churning up the soil, and they are depositing manure. And it's a constant process as they're moving. This is a herd of 200, maybe 300 strong. I haven't yet been able to get a good count of them. But you see how they're not staying in an area. They're constantly moving, and there's lots of water around, lots of food. So we'll keep monitoring that map over the coming days and see how they move in response to that, because it's really interesting to see how they move. Obviously, in the dry season, it's imperative for them to go to the watering holes that are available. But now there's so much water available, they can be a little bit more sort of random in their movements. I mean, I know, Lisa, in India there's the water buffalo. This is called the African or Cape buffalo. Then I think the bison is also sort of regarded as a buffalo in a way. I don't really know. I don't know what other buffalo species there might be. They are a bovid. So all of the domestic... You see this lady there? Or the young boy there, he's got an itch in a very hard-to-reach place. Oh, yes. That's what you do. How many times have you walked in and found your husband or boyfriend or someone you might know and love scratching their back against the wall? That one was getting very hard to reach places with that stick. So I don't know. I mean, all the domesticated cattle that we have in the world today have all originated from many, many years ago. We're talking about 10, 12,000 years ago. Originated from some form of wild cow. And the buffalo is a wild cow, everybody. It's a wild bovid that has never been domesticated. And there's a lady and a gentleman. Bless you. There's a gentleman behind. You can see the difference quite clearly in the horn structure, can't you? In the boss versus the no boss. The younger boy and a much younger boy. They're all very interested. And yes, indeed, they've all gotten slowly getting up, and they're going to head back down towards the watering hole we were at before. Either there, or they're going to go to Triple Pan, which is just up ahead of us. They won't be going very far, that's for sure. Okay, well, we've got one of the big five, and Lauren's got one of the other.
Indeed, elephants. Loxodonta africana. There's some Latin names that I just can't forget. They never slip my mind. And of course they all have meaning. The big teeth of Africa. The big teeth referring to the tusks, of course. Now we're very close to Chitwa Dam, so I'm hoping that ever so slowly the elephants will head down and start, well, drinking or splashing or swimming or whatever they wish near the dam. Now, talking of Latin names, there's different classifications of animals, and you break them down in different ways. And this is, well, the subject of taxonomy. And there's 7 major levels of classifications, and it goes from kingdom. All the animals belong to Animalia, That's simple enough. To phylum, to class, to order, family, genus, and in species. You can then go even further down and break it into subspecies, but that's the sort of 7 major classifications of animals, and that's what you first study when you learn things like zoology, because it's important to know how all the animals are connected. Now, I'm going to throw out a quiz for you, something I've just learned. It's possibly common knowledge, but I've just came across it. There's actually a new phylum of animals found, I think around 2016-17, so a few years ago now, in the Greater Kruger National Park that has never been discovered before and never thought to be present in the Kruger Park. So, the phylum that elephants belong to is Chordata. We also belong to that. Chordata means have a backbone. I'm just going to try and reposition just a little bit. So, I'm going to ask, can any of you guess what type of organism was found that belongs to a new phylum? No other organisms from that phylum are found in the Greater Kruger National Park, and it was recently found. Now, you are not allowed to use Google, everyone. Google is banned, and every other search engine that you may come across. Okay, how is this, Dobby? So I'm not asking for the phylum. You can just give me the sort of type of organism that's been recently, or a few years ago, discovered in the Kruger. So have a think on that one, everyone. But you start broad, so you have sort of plants versus animals, basically. That's your kingdoms. And then you start to divide and divide and divide, almost like mathematics, until you get down to the species level. And then you can get subspecies. And subspecies, same species, DNA-wise, but they're normally found in different geographical locations. And what this means is they'll have specialized adaptations to survive in different environments. And that's when you get a subspecies. So there's 9 different subspecies of leopard, for example, and they'll have the same Latin name, so it'll be Panthera pardus, but then there'll be a 3rd additional Latin name on the end there, and that will tell you which of the 9 different subspecies it is. So you'll know it's a leopard immediately, and then you'll figure out exactly which leopard and where it's from that last part of the name. So the minute you see a 3-part Latin name, you know it's a subspecies and not a species. And when you see a 2-part, you know it's a species. So that's like Lauren Arthur versus, well, Lauren Sarah Arthur. And then you can figure out Lauren Arthur would be the species and Lauren Arthur would be the subspecies. Okay, there's actually more ellies down here, Dobby. They look dark, and what that means is they look slightly damp, and when they're damp, it means they've already been to the water. We could have missed the pool party for this lot. There we go. Linda, you're asking, do elephants have a favorite type of tree? For what? Have to be more specific. For pushing over, I think Steve has already touched on that, so I'm going to go for eating. Yes, they do, but their diet changes so dramatically from summer to winter. Especially in this environment, especially in the low veld. So in the summer, their diet mainly consists of grass. Lots of different grass species, the sort of more palatable, nutritious ones, elephants favor over sort of trees and branches. But you'll see elephants ring barking a lot of trees, and marula is a very common one. Not only do they love the marula fruit, as we all do, they also love debarking it. And sometimes they can strip bark, or they can ring bark. And ring barking is worrying. That can actually kill the tree itself. Strip barking, not so much. So the outer bark is what you're looking at right now. That's actually dead. That beautiful marula bark that looks like someone's taken a big ice cream scooper and scooped up. Oh, there's a butterfly, Dobby. Do you see that on the ground there? I think it's a guinea fowl. My first guinea fowl of the season. Just above that stick. Let me see if I can direct you. Yes, Dobby's on it. To the right, to the right. There you go, you got it. That was a guinea fowl species. can add that to my list for 2021. But yes, they don't want the outer bark. They don't want the part that we can see right now. They want the inner bark. Nicely done, Davy. Was determined to get that for you all there. Yes, it's a guinea fowl. It's got its proboscis out. I think it's trying to get some minerals from the soil. And the inner bark is where the cambium layer is. And this is where all the nutrients are. So effectively, trees draw up water from their roots and they deliver it to the rest of the tree. So the roots are going to pull up all the water from the ground, send it upwards and deliver it to the leaves. The leaves are the ones that are photosynthesizing. So they are the ones that are providing the other nutrients in the sugars, and the sugars are going to go down the tree into the roots. So there's a passage, there's an up and down, and that's where all the nutrients are, and that's exactly the part that the elephants want. They don't want the outer bark, they want the inner part, sometimes red in colour from all the tannins. So that's why they really do debark trees. And I think if I had to choose a tree that's an elephant's favourite, Linda, it's going to be the marullas. And of course it's marula season, and I actually have some. Steve very kindly gave us some to snack on in the car. Okay, I'm going to try and keep up with these elephants if I can, but for now, let's go across to Pridelands to say hello. You're not going to Pridelands. You're staying with me, and I think I may get some better views of these elephants for you. But in a really harsh winter, in a very dry winter, there's no grass, there's nothing to eat, and that's when they have to adapt their diet. It has a lot of sort of a heavier impact on their molars, on their teeth. It's not as nutritious for them. You will find that the elephants on a really hot winter, which this winter coming will not be, you will find that the elephants can struggle. There's not as much food around for them. They're not getting as much nutrition. Water is not so available. And talking of water, we're going to head to the dam now, but we are going to try and send you back across to Mike to say hello.
Tense moment to wait for this apex predator to capture its prey. Well, it's already captured its prey. Just waiting for it to act upon that. It's a butterfly which has just gotten caught in the web of this golden orb web spider. Just saw it now as we were driving past and wondered if we wait along a little while, maybe it'll go and grab its prey. Anyway, my name is Mike Anderson. Behind the camera is Gert, and you're joining us at Eco Training Pridelands Conservancy. Yeah, where we're just driving around an area we don't drive very often. As you can see all around us here, it's very grassy, very thick. It's not an area we come often, and I'm glad we did, because we did come across this really awesome golden orb web spider, which I'm going to have to maybe help Gert a little bit here, because it is very well hidden in the grass. It's right there, Gert. It's very, very difficult to see. I'm sure you can all see it. There you go. So it's this golden orb web spider. I'm not exactly sure which species it is, but this is probably a banded-legged nephila, or banded-legged orb spider. You can see it's very colorful and bright. It's a young one. It's a female. Hasn't had much food yet, and you can see its web is quite damaged. It's probably been getting quite a lot of large prey flying in and through its web, so perhaps not yet managing. But if you can look on that web, you also see lots and lots of fluffy bits on it. I suspect there's been quite a lot of butterflies being caught on this web, and when they flutter around, just like this blue pansy, as they flutter around in the web, they leave their furry covering on their wings. It's interesting. I'm so surprised. That butterfly is still alive. It was flapping its wings just a moment ago when we first... Oh my goodness, I'm being bitten by some sort of a creature. It was fluttering its wings as we first arrived, and it sort of stopped. And I'm not exactly sure why it stopped fluttering, but maybe it's because it felt the spider approaching and thought maybe if it stays very still, the spider won't see it. And you can see there's another insect there. There's a fly of some sort. It looks like maybe a horse fly of some sort that was also caught some time ago probably. It hasn't been wrapped in web. Quite confused as to what's going on here. Normally, as soon as they capture their prey, they'll either consume them and then cut them out of the web and drop them, or they'll consume them and then the husk will get placed on a trash line, of which the spider doesn't really have too much of a trash line. To be honest, its whole web is basically falling apart. So I'm not sure what's happening. Perhaps this spider is about to go into, I don't know, starvation. Maybe it's laying eggs or it's laid eggs. I don't know what's going on. Quite strange. It's also damaged, the spider. You can see it's only got, looks like 7 legs instead of 8. I suspect maybe it might even be about to go through a bit of a shed. And when they shed, the limb that was broken off will re-emerge underneath. It's growing underneath in its body. Hopefully, that'll happen anyway. Sure, but as they eat more and more, you'll see their abdomens fill up. And on this particular web, I don't see any kleptoparasites. Small spiders that often are called dewdrop spiders that will live on the outskirts of the web and will often try and sneak up to where the prey is and try and eat a little bit of the prey themselves. Very clever system. Don't see any on this web right now. See that guideline there, very stiff and very strong. You know that these particular species of spider does make one of the strongest materials in nature that's known to mankind. And it's not strong like in its rigidity, it's strong in its tensile strength. It's flexible, but very, very able to withstand lots of forces. In fact, that small piece of line that you can see at the top left of the screen, if I was to take that small piece, I won't take from the spider because its web is basically falling apart anyway, but if we found an abandoned web or a web that maybe as we're driving we accidentally damaged it, happens sometimes, I'll take a small piece of it. If you fold it 3 to 4 times, it becomes strong enough that you couldn't, with all the strength that you have, break that piece of spider web, so that's pretty amazing. And I love this time of year now, because there are so many of these spiders, and in fact we've been seeing so many different arthropods and also so many different reptiles. We've seen so many snakes in the last few days. It's really the season of plenty. You know, with all this humidity, this rainfall that we've had, you can see how green everything is. It means that there's abundant life. It's really a time of plenty for a lot of things.
The cycle of life, everybody. We have just caught the end of a buffalo birth. There's the mother eating the placenta. If that's a bit off for you, look away. But it is all part of the process. That is the placenta that she's re-ingesting. And there is a brand new little baby behind her. Oh my goodness. Can you believe it? Now, I was talking before that the herd doesn't move that far because the youngsters, so that's another reason why having babies this time of year is beneficial, because they don't need to move very far. There's lots of water, lots of food, and look at that. Isn't that incredible? Now, 2 years ago, Sebastian and I actually filmed a live buffalo birth at Chitwa. And see how she's very observant. She's very observant to what's going on. This is a potentially dangerous time for her and her baby specifically. There are lots of herd members around. That baby needs to walk. Go, little one. Oh, my goodness. The cycle of life. Isn't that amazing, everybody? It takes him about 15 to 20 minutes to stand up. So she timed it just right because the herd was all still resting when we arrived, and since then they've all decided to get up and to start moving away to probably go and drink. And she doesn't want to be left behind, of course. She will stay with the baby, but often herds will actually stay. The time Seb and I saw the first birth, the herd sort of just we're like, what are they doing? They're all hanging around. They don't leave. They normally leave the water, and they just stood there. She gave birth, and they all stayed. Very, very special. My heart. So obviously her ingesting the afterbirth is a way of regaining important nutrients that she's utilised in sort of the pregnancy process. And look at that little one. Welcome to the herd, little one. Judith, absolutely beautiful, isn't it? Now, we see it all in the show. We try and bring you all of the action. Unfortunately, that was behind a termite mound and we didn't see what was going on. But we are going to leave them as they go down into the thickets, down into the coolness, and they, bless you, they're probably going to go and have a drink. How wonderful, how special indeed. Well, she's still staring at us over there. Still making sure we're not any threat. Don't worry, Mama. We are not any concern of yours.
If you love to watch WildEarth, then we are inviting you to join our Explorers program. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic WildEarth expeditions. Join our guides for a chat around the fire, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn allows us to escape into nature every single day.
What makes andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve so special is our massive array of habitats. And with that comes, of course, a beautiful diversity of landscapes, but also an incredible biodiversity in terms of plants, bird life and animal life, as well as, of course, our conservation success stories with cheetah, with rhinos, now with pangolins too.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. It's no secret that nature can heal. Some of our WildEarth viewers are finding solace in the outdoors close to their homes during lockdown.
This is how I keep myself busy during lockdown. Beautiful little jumping spot.
I love walking in the open spaces near my home. Provides a moment of peace in a crazy world.
This is my fire escape with some of the birds I get to see. That's what it's like in New York City during lockdown.
Being in nature helps me to cope with the challenges of life and helps me to be humble and grateful.
It's magical watching everything turn into a winter wonderland as the snow softly falls.
Been doing lots of walking, dog walking, outside at parks.
This is my Ridgeback Drake. Our little slice of paradise is a provincial park called Hopewell Ross.
Connecting with nature is critical to stay positive during these tough times. WildEarth encourages you all to find time to escape to nature.
There is clearly something in the vicinity around you that's drawn their attention. Yes, that meerkat in the tree is just the coolest of cool meerkats. But watch how he battles when he comes down. That would be like me climbing a tree, just better.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda, where we're still just sitting with these cheetah. The rain has stopped a little bit for a little while, and a few of them are starting to groom themselves a little bit again, which is always a little bit exciting. You can see that one's just got its head up, just rubbing it in the grass a little bit, maybe got a little itch. But poof, head back down now. So they groom for a number of reasons. They groom to get any, maybe if they have a blackjack, which is like a a little seed on a grass, or if they've got an injury, they'll clean it, and also just to keep their coat in really good condition and have good hygiene. They can't or don't bath like you or I, so that's their way of keeping clean and keeping so neat and tidy. That's why they look so fantastic all the time. Even after a meal, they'll spend a long time just grooming and keeping themselves clean. You can see that end of their tail just flicking around there. That's also just a sign of content, and they're very, very happy with where they are lying in this lovely grass. Must be quite comfortable, and we've had a lot of rain around, so it's not quite rough like it is in winter. Nice and green and luscious, so almost like a mattress for them. Just see the end of their tail like that. I love watching that. It's also quite interesting to compare if you look at the one that's slightly facing us, that very, very light undertone of their belly, and then the one that's facing away is so much darker at the back. Oh, there, one just got his head up now. Just grooming, and often you might see them biting on their claws, and they might be just pulling out any ticks or something that they have between their toes, also maybe bits of mud. But we're going to sit you up for a while, and we're going to send you off to another location.
So we're having a bit of a creepy crawly safari. So I know that you were just talking about ticks being pulled off the cheetah. Now we found another spider, although this one's an even creepier looking spider, I think. So if you look just over here, I don't know if you can see, just over there, there's another spider. It's also part of the orb web family, but this one's a garden orb web. And the difference in this spider, I know it's moved slightly now, so the angle is not quite as great as it was, but the body is flattened, not like a tube, but more like a kite. And this spider also makes massive orb webs, and it's very, very colorful. This is also a female, very large. You see there's an ant that's bothering it at the moment. It does not like this ant. But ants can sometimes spray formic acid, which is not comfortable at all. And this particular spider is very, very shy. It almost always moves away whenever it gets bothered by something. And now, we talked on the last spider about something called a kleptoparasite on the golden orb web spider. So now, this web from this spider is actually across this road. And now, as I mentioned before, often when things are across roads, these are game paths that get used. And so this spider, although you can't see that, has made something called a stabilimentum, which I'll point out to you in a moment if we can change the vehicle's angle a little bit. But just over here, can you see that, Gert? Just behind or just in front of my finger. Be very difficult for you to see. Maybe if I do that, it makes it a bit easier. That little tiny arthropod is called a dewdrop spider, and that is a kleptoparasite. So this little spider is so small and light that it doesn't cause any vibrations on the web. And so when the large garden orb web has caught something big, like a moth, like what we saw before, this tiny little spider that's now on the move will creep slowly on the opposite side of the web and start sucking some of that, the prey's body fluids out without getting the attention of this large spider that will chase it and eat it as well. And it's amazing. It's got a silvery coloration, which makes it look just like a dewdrop on this web, which is where its name comes from. And that's really, really cool. Really spectacular. And there's not just this one spider, there's other spiders all over this particular tree. And now what spiders do and why there's so many on this particular sickle bush is because when spiders are very young, to disperse from the natal web or the mother's web, what they'll do is when they hatch, there'll be hundreds of them on there, and they'll let out these thin streams of silk that then catch in the wind, and it's called kiting. And that little spiderling, I think that's what you call, spiderling. Maybe help me out. Is it a spiderlet? You guys let me know. But anyway, they will float in the wind and land on another tree somewhere. And obviously, if the wind is blowing in one direction, all the little spiderlings land on the same tree, and then they'll start to disperse from there. So there's 2 or 3 spiders on this tree. But it's amazing. So what I'm going to try and do now is just move the vehicle slightly so I can show you the stabilimentum, which is a really awesome thing that this spider has, which helps it to avoid being damaged by other animals as they walk through. Okay, 2 seconds. I need to do a bit of fancy footwork here. It's a little bit tricky. Okay, let me just drive the car back a tiny little bit. And Gert, I'm sure you'll be able to see what I was pointing out there. Anna, I agree with you completely. Spiders are kind of creepy. I don't particularly like spiders. Excuse me, the bouncing. I'm just climbing over the bonnet. I've parked on a sickle bush. Spiders are a little bit creepy, but they're super important for the environment because they do keep pest numbers down. When there's lots of pests building up, spiders are super important. I don't like them on me, though. They always give me the chills as well. Can you see this thing, Gert? There's something blocking it. That awesome little zigzag pattern that you can see attached to the web on this piece of grass is called a stabilimentum. And now, no one is 100% sure what the stabilimentum does, but you can see it's very visible. There's a thought that maybe it helps to make the web more visible, so that something like a impala that's walking along will see it. Web is not comfortable to be on the body. The impalas probably also find them quite creepy. So then they can avoid it, walk around rather than through it. There's another theory, two other theories actually. One is that it gives the web a little bit more rigidity and elasticity so it can stretch. So if something larger, like that butterfly we saw that had damaged the other orb web spider's web, if it flew into this, it would stretch a bit more. And the last theory is that this web is actually able to reflect ultraviolet light, which then might attract more insects to the web itself. So fantastic, really, really spectacular little engineering that the spider has come up with. And it's still hiding there, so that's what the spider does. When its web is damaged, as you see this one is, it goes and hides quickly there up in the tree in order to remain undetected and hidden from predators. So you can see this one here is quite small. There's my hand not so far behind it. You can see it's just covers probably the ends of my fingers. And many spiders will actually consume the web afterwards. So although this web has been damaged, the spider can maybe consume it and then recycle that energy in order to reuse it again, building its new web. But in the meantime, anyway, let us head our way down and see what else we can find. Hopefully, more creepy crawlies. I'm enjoying this little creepy crawly safari we're having. No, I'm never going to get through that way, Gert. I'm going to have to walk around. 2 seconds, everyone. Righty. The spiders are super cool because they come in almost every single shape and size you can imagine. There's spiders that live free roaming, and there's spiders that make webs like these. The free roaming spiders, the ones that are especially important in this area, the baboon spiders. And hopefully we can find you one of the nest holes of the females. Right, so in the meantime, whilst we drive off, we'll send you off to one of the other locations to see what they're up to.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off.
It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill. The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This is a disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live, and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops. Oof.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to our buffalo and the wallowing. And we had a lot of questions yesterday, a lot of requests for wallowing buffalo. And here we have got some wet boofs. It's that time of day when they've cooled themselves down. It'll time to start moving back to go feeding again, filling that belly before bedding down again for a little bit more rumination. You see the fellow at the back there? He's coming with something in his ear. Let me move back. I can see him. He's got a little bush in his ear. Oh, he's going to be behind the bush. This is called triple pan up on Bufosuk. Let's see what he's got in his ear there. Here he is. Hello. He's stylish, everybody. He's stylish, this fellow. He's lost his tail. He's got some lion activity on him. He's definitely a soldier. So lions will often eat the tails off of buffalo when they're trying to pull them to the ground. But I suppose losing your tail and your life staying is an okay sort of compromise. Obviously, don't look. There's another couple heading from the back there. Another big one coming. But he's going to come into the pan here, is he? No, I'm not sure. He's going to follow the herd. They're all heading down. I was explaining to you before on the map where they were. And what actually is quite nice is that they were here at Triple Pan. This is Triple Pan. Now they're heading straight down this way. So they do these big figure of eights, big flower-like movements around these water points. So it's very likely they're going to sort of head down towards that water hole. They're going to feed through the area here. Sorry about that. They're going to head through and then end up in one of these clearings over here, doing probably just little figure of eights as they choose the water that they want to hang out in. Obviously, not all the water they go to is drinkable, especially after they've been wallowing in it like this. As we'll see now, this big fellow who's coming from the back, he's going to come down to this water hole. Is he going to go in and drink, or is he going to wallow? What's he going to do? Where did everybody go? I just went around the corner and I came back and everybody's gone. He's actually a very good-looking bull. Very good-looking bull. Can you imagine, you've suddenly got 300 of your mates around the corner. You just go away for just a private little moment and you come back and they're all gone. Who's ever had that before? Let's move up and get him from the front. Who's ever had that before? You're at a party and you just went away for 5 minutes, come back and everyone's gone. All you hear is crickets. Click, 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 click. Click, click. Never. It's never happened to me. He's being shy. Okay, well, we'll follow these buffalo down the road. They're heading south. They head back down towards the other watering hole. And then, seeing as we've had some good time with the buffalo, we're going to start dissecting and finding you some medicine. And in the meantime, let's send you over to Mike, who's enjoying a spot with some insects.
Right, so that's really cool. We're really closing the story here. We found another golden orb web spider web, this time with a tiny male on it. So if I put my hand behind, oh, I'm scaring him because he's so tiny and so small. So the males are way smaller than the females. And this male here is not even as big as probably my pinky finger, the top part of my pinky finger. It's so tiny. And there's two males here, and they were sitting right next to this middle thing here, which is what I was talking about earlier, called, I've just heard it referred to as the trash line, which is where the bodies, the leftover husks of all those insects that the spider's eaten get put behind. And the theory is that it's kind of similar to the stabilimentum on the garden orb web. And it creates a visual barrier that another animal like an impala walking along here, or myself, for example, would see and not walk into. But what's interesting is, oh, look, the dewdrop spider is making a kill right now. There's a fly that's just landed here a few minutes ago. And I thought the male orb web was going to go there, and he didn't. Maybe because I'm here, maybe I'm scaring him, I don't know. But the dewdrop spider is busy kleptoparasitizing, as we talked about. It's literally, right now, stealing food. Can you see it? I don't know, Gert, can you see it on there? It's stealing food from the female whose web it is. And she's busy up there, because we drove and we almost wiped this web out. So it's super cool. We're literally watching it right now from the other side of the web, pulling through the spider, and it's not, pulling through the fly, it's not going to wrap it up in silk, because that's, there's two more flies that have just landed, oh my word, there's two more. These spiders have a feast on their way. It's quite windy, and because there's another big storm that's approaching us, a lot of insects are being pushed low down, and this humidity is causing a lot of insect activity anyway, so there's a ton of stuff arriving. Maybe I just haven't been showering properly recently, I don't know. But, one fly just escaped. There's only the two left now. But this is cool. This is amazing when a story comes together. When we talk about the dewdrop, how they steal the trash lines, and we're just literally building this into an amazing closed circle. So these two males here, you can see how small they are compared to the female, who's all the way up here. I don't know, Gerd, if you'll be able to see her. I'm trying my best not to cross the web, but you can see how big she is. She is the size of my hand, or a little bit smaller than my hand. And so they have to very quietly, this little fly that's over here would not be even a 5-minute meal for this spider, so it wouldn't be the right opportunity. But normally, if a larger thing arrives here, like a moth flew into this web, that spider female would spend a lot of time wrapping it in silk and then feeding on it, and during that time when she's distracted, the male spiders will try and mate with her, because that way they can almost be certain that she's not going to eat them, which they often do. The males will often also be on the opposite side of the web. It makes it more difficult for her to reach them. So this dewdrop has now actually separated the fly from the web. I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but it's cutting all the web around the fly in order to make sure that there's not going to be too many vibrations being caused by this fly's, oh, I'm being bitten, by this fly's movements to attract the bigger spiders. That's really, really amazing. And now I actually see it's creating a web. This dewdrop spider, I think it's actually creating a line separate from the web. Let's see what it does. I'm wondering if it's going to clip. It is! It's literally cutting the fly off of the web. Look what it's doing now. It's suspended the fly off its own little web on the golden orb web spider's web. It's my first time to see this. I knew they do this, but it's my first time to ever actually see them doing this. It's so clever. So now that it's separated this fly from the main web, it's going to probably wrap it or do... I don't even know what it's going to do. What's it going to do next? Gert, this is first for me. I'm so excited. In any case, look at this. The male spiders, the females, even these two elegant grasshoppers that are mating over there are completely oblivious to what's happening right now. There is theft It's theft happening. Stealing food from the table. Can you believe it? So now I want to see, is it actually going to wrap it? So I wasn't sure if they do that. It is wrapping it. It is wrapping it in a type of silk. That's really great. So now, in order to even remove further the vibrations, it's wrapping it in some silk. Oh, now it's blowing. Now the wind is blowing. We knew the wind was coming. We knew there was going to be a storm coming. So this might be the last we can view of this spider, unfortunately. I want to move away from this web just because I'm worried that I'm going to get caught in it and end up damaging it. And as you can see here, oh, sorry, I just need to get comms with the FC again. Hi, everyone. So you can see this golden orb web's main line here. This is the very strong line which keeps it rigid, and it's going right across the road here. And now, because there's such an amazing thing happening here, I'm going to turn around and move away from here. Normally what we'd do, because we've got to use these roads anyway, normally we would just take the web and put it on something else nearby so that the web still stays and remains undamaged but now off the road. But because there's nothing else for it to attach to, I'm just going to leave it as it is and turn around, because this spider right now has got a meal. It's very important that we let it enjoy that meal. And there's another small spider approaching at high speed. I can't imagine that this little spider here has felt the vibrations, but you never know. These things are crazy sensitive. Anyway, let's leave this. This is so cool. This is so exciting. Okay. I didn't damage anything, I don't think. Right, let's leave these spiders to their little meal whilst we head and see what else we can find. What a cool afternoon, though. So far, so good. Hey? Seeing all these cool critters, which I know some of you probably find quite creepy, but incredibly important for the environment. That fly is one of millions that get caught every day, probably every hour in southern Africa. And without these spiders, those flies would be spreading disease all over the place. So it's really important. In the meantime, we'll send you over to Lauren.
Can you actually believe the structure? So, of course, a termite mound. Look at the size of it. It is unbelievable. Try and stand here, but not to cause any damage to the structure. And this is I'm actually not even on ground level here. Look at that. This is new. Now, if Robbie's able to give you a comparison to the sort of mound next to it, you'll see the soil's a different colour and texture, but it's a different colour. This entire, well, it's almost like it's two mounds, is new, just from the rains. Doesn't look very stable, but of course it has to be. Wow, I cannot believe this. This is the most unique, well, the tallest, I think, termite mound of this sort of shape that I've ever seen. We're on Chitwa, and we quite a lot, and I can assure you. So since all the rains, this is brand new. The termites have obviously been working very, very hard and created that structure. Wow. Now, the termites don't live inside the mound. They obviously live in a nest underneath. This is just a mound that they use. It's like their city. It's their everyday life. It's where they function. It's where they grow their fungi. It's where they look after their queen. It's where they store the eggs. It's where they build. It's where they maintain. They're not actually living there. We call them cities. Wow, I'm going to drive a little bit closer. I didn't see any termites. But isn't that just incredible? We're on Chitwa having a little look to see if we can see Tandy's son. Okay, how's that? Minuscule little insect creating such mammoth structures that can actually be seen from outer space in South America. Wow, we just thought we'd stop to show you that because it's really incredible, and it shows you how fast they can work in such a short space of time. And they're only really active in terms of maintenance and construction work in the summer. So in the winter, it's far too cold. Termites are ectothermic, and therefore you'll find that they're down below, hidden in their nest. I can see something crawling here. Let me just get a look at my tiny little borrower's monitor. I think that's termites. Yes, it is. There you go, they're still working. how much taller is the structure going to grow? I'm going to take a lovely photo of this and hopefully we can do some comparisons. I just think termites are incredible. And it's the workers, of course, that work. They make up between about 95 to 97% of the colony. The rest are the soldiers, and then you have the few fertile rolling. But the workers just work. They build, they maintain, they feed the soldiers, they feed themselves. The soldiers' mandibles, and that's the jaw parts of an insect, have developed in such a way that they're very, very large, out of proportion, and it's used for defense. That's how the soldiers are able to defend themselves. They're not able to eat with those mandibles, and that's exactly why the workers will feed them. What an impressive structure this is. Megan, yes, what an amazing structure. Took the words right out of my mouth. I couldn't believe it when we were driving past. We just had to stop and have a look at this. It doesn't look too steady, but I can assure you it is. It's solid, but it's also very porous. It's permeable to let the oxygen in and, of course, well, the carbon dioxide out. So there's lots of little holes, there's tunnels, there's chimneys, there's all sorts. It's not as haphazard as it looks. It's very intricate, it's very detailed. And the entire colony build. And they all know what they're doing. There's no blueprint, there's no map, there's no sort of leader who's saying, you do this and you do this. No, they all just work. They divide and conquer. They know their roles and they know what they're trying to achieve. And the mound is their life. Completely silent insects. They communicate through chemicals and vibrations. Spas, in general, yes, termite mounds are used. You see the hyena den and porcupines and aardvarks and all sorts of animals. Even small reptiles will use termite mounds. But this one, I'm not so sure. I don't think anything would use this just yet. It's in the open. It's a little bit unstable looking. But yes, as it grows, absolutely. Termites as well as termite mounds are the backbone of most ecosystems. Fundamentally important structures. So yes, lots of different organisms will use it as a home or shelter or den sites. But not this one, Spas. I think this one is probably not going to work for many animals. Although, possibly a small little reptile. Okay, we're going to do one more loop to see if we can spot any signs of Candy's little one. He's been in this area for a very, very long time. Even 2 weeks ago when I was here. And it's just interesting, the movement of leopards. I was saying this earlier, but I think we had to crash cut away due to signal, that there's 3 leopard esses, 2 of which are related, that are all using this area, Kuchava, Tandy and Sabui. All have cubs. Obviously, Sabui has 2, Kuchava has a son, Tandy has a son. It's just fascinating that they're all using Chitwa. It's such a small property. Of course, their territory extends other ways, but Chitwa seems to be a prime spot right now for these leopardesses. All territorial, all very dominant in this area. And the cubs, for some reason, have been spending a lot of time here. This is the Mulwanini, not the Mulawati. That you know, we haven't been able to drive the Mulawati for a long time. But what you see in front of us is a Mulwanini. And this runs through Torchwood. And it runs right into Chitwa Dam. Davi and I had a sighting in there not so long ago, and we were able to drive it. And of course, since the rains, it's all completely undrivable, if you like. Okay, let's see if we can get through this. I'm not a fan of this car, I must say. Rusty's not one of the girls' cars, but we're going to race through. We're allowed to drive through this part. There we go, we made it. Okay, I'm just going to scratch around here to see if we can pick up any signs of the young leopards. And for now, I'm going to send you across to another location.
Good. Beautiful, very diverse landscape of Tswalu. A very warm day. We've been scratching around further in the east. Unfortunately, we don't have any signal there for young lion cubs, which has just been recently found this morning by a guide. 3 new, brand new 4 to 5 week old cubs, and they are stashed away on a mountainside, just the foothill of the mountain. So very good afternoon. My name is Carl, and behind camera is Morgan. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon here at Tswalu. So we thought we'd show you guys a lovely scenic view just to start off things. In a couple of weeks, that color would be very, very different. Mountains and the grasslands. The trees, most of the trees generally keep the green color here, especially the Vachellia eriloba or the camel thorn. It's mainly green throughout the year. It does lose some of its leaves throughout winter. But a very beautiful green landscape we have. We're going to be driving very slowly a little bit further west to see what we can find for this afternoon's drive. Hopefully some very interesting things pop up. I just love the view of the mountains. Love walking through them. It's a really great activity to walk in and through those mountains. Found all types of lovely little things, from flowers and grasses, birds and mammals. All right, but we're going to carry along, and we will see you guys later.
I'll ask them to do a comms check. Sorry about that. I'm sure Ngala will be with us very, very shortly. You can see all the rain clouds. Something's definitely rolling in, but luckily, nothing has hit us so far. Any signs of time? Didn't have any comms there. Did you get that, Dobby? Don't quite know what happened there. We didn't have any comms, so I'm not sure what happened, but you're still with us. And you're still with us, I believe. We are coming in and out there, so I'm not quite sure what happened. But we are slowly making our way back to Djuma. I think that's the right thing to do with this rolling in and to see what else we can find around there. I am desperate to spend some time at that hyena den, an adult there. Hopefully, though, if it's not raining tomorrow and its temperatures are slightly cooler, we have a little bit of a better chance of seeing them. It's been too hot, sticky and humid, which is probably why we were not so lucky this morning. Oh my goodness, I am so sorry, guys. We have just bumped into 5 giraffes. Oh, okay, well, we shall hopefully stay with this wonderful little gathering of giraffes, but for now, we're going to send you across to Steve.
Hello everybody, welcome to Buffelshoek and welcome to the Termite Mound. Harvesting this afternoon was a little bit warm, but what is very, very exciting, let me just turn down my hot water here, it's boiling. Elephants pushed over a tree. I was able to actually harvest some root. Now I don't normally harvest roots because the roots mean I have to damage a tree, but this root was exposed, and the reason it's so wet is because I just washed it. It was very dirty. So roots is where many of the trees that we know of take their nutrients into the soil and their medicine. So that's very, very yellow. The bark inside. Just trying to chop it up a little bit. I'm going to be making a couple little decoctions here, or one decoction, mainly with the roots. But the bark as well is quite useful. I'm always able to get the bark, always able to get the leaves and the fruits. And once I just chop this bit. Okay, so here we've got the roots, and this is fresh. It's still very, very fresh. It's probably too fresh, but it is what it is, everybody. I'm going to make a decoction out of the bark. I've got my trusty kettle boiling, and I'm going to throw it in there. Of the roots, sorry. Stick it in there. Allow that to boil. Now that's going to change colour quite quickly, I reckon. Okay, so in front of me, so here's the bark. The wood underneath the root, you can see it's very, very yellow. That's quite tough. I mean, I had to cut it with my Leatherman sword. It was quite strong to cut. So very, very fresh. It's got a very earthy smell because of the ground. Very earthy smell because of the ground. And there is one of the branches that I harvested. I stripped the bark off. So you see the wood, very, very, very yellow, very, very hard. And utilized for all sorts of implements, even as far as fence posts if you wanted to go there. It's a very, very strong and durable wood. But we just allow this. Oh, it's boiling over already. That's good. Oh, it's frizzling and bubbling in there. Bark. Here we've got some bark. Some bark over there that I've harvested freshly. I've got some pods, very, very characteristic, easy to identify, purplish pink, 2-winged pods. The Terminalia sericea, the silver cluster leaf. You can see that. Very, very easy to identify. And then the leaves with some of the pods. Now the leaves are long and silvery, and they all cluster at the end here. Very, very easy to identify. When you rub them, actually, that white powder comes off, and it doesn't look as silvery when you really rub it. Well, this one's not really doing it. The top does. But long, lanceolate leaves. So very long and straight and very shiny. And there's a huge silver texture to it. You can see it's very silvery. And if you dare, which I do, oh my goodness. It's so unbelievably bitter. It's not good. Now, old tribes used to actually use the silver on these leaves to glaze pots. They wipe it on a pot, again and again and again and again, and eventually that silver comes off, and the pottery that they've made is not as drab looking anymore, and actually get that very nice shiny coloration to it. Okay, so while we boil this up, you can also actually use powder of the bark, which we're not going to be making any powder now. It's going to take too long, of course. Now, powder we could sieve, we could dry this, we could crush it up, we could make a really, really nice powder out of it, and we'll get into the medicinal properties of that shortly. But what I like about the bark as well is you can see I've stripped that off there. Now, this is a tree that was pushed over by elephants, and I just harvested one small root and one branch. And have a look how stringy this stuff is here. Very, very good for making twine, for making rope, if you're any good at that sort of thing, which I really want to practice, because it tears quite nicely. Well, sort of tears quite nicely. And then you can plait it. You can plait it. Not that I'm very good at plaiting. Seb, you've got a young daughter, you're probably good at plaiting. So you could plait this, you could make it into pretty strong twine, which you could use for all sorts of things. Okay, well, I'm getting eaten alive here by flies. We're going to let this decoction boil up. When we come back to us, we're going to drink some and explain exactly what can be done with it.
Welcome to andBeyond and Ngala, everybody. I am sitting with one of the Birmingham lionesses at the side of the Timbavati River. It is still flowing behind her. And I think she's cooling off. The sun's just gone behind the clouds. And we're actually sitting close to her den site, hoping that she's going to come out and towards the cubs. And hopefully the cubs will come out. I haven't seen them this afternoon yet, but hopefully I get to show you. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide this afternoon here at andBeyond and Ngala. Behind the camera, we have Owen today, and we are really, really hoping we get to see these tiny little baby Birmingham cubs. So if you have a look, she's actually got her attention focused further up the river. She keeps looking in that direction. And I'm not 100% sure why, because we think that her cubs are actually very close. Oh, nice one. To where we are at the moment, not that far up the river. And so maybe she's just hearing something. But she definitely looks like she is nice and cool. She is still panting every now and then, but she's definitely relaxed. You can see she's grooming herself. And she's been drinking some water out of this beautiful, fresh Timbavati riverbed. So she has not moved her den site very far from where it originally was, just a little bit further up the bank and a bit further away from the water. But from the tracks we can actually see that her cubs have actually been in that area where she is. There are little tiny lion cub tracks all over the sand, which is really exciting because it means for us that those cubs are getting more adventurous and they have been wandering down to the water's edge with her. So that is ultimately what I'm hoping for, that we see them out of the den site. Definitely grooming hour. So it is actually a good thing that she is grooming and yawning. It means that she might get up soon. And I'm really hoping she walks over towards us and leads us to where she's hidden her little cubs along the bank. It has been an exceptionally hot day today, and so I think she's just enjoying the fact that there is actually some cloud cover now. We are actually expecting rain from any second now, with some massive storm clouds building again. She is a stunning lioness, definitely one of the prettiest to me in the entire Birmingham Pride, and she's one of the oldest. So she's always held a lot of respect here at andBeyond and Ngala as being an exceptional mother and an exceptional hunter. But you can see how much greener it has gotten, and those storm clouds building up a bit in the background. In fact, the biggest clouds are behind us at the moment. But it is so amazing for us to see that this river is still flowing a week later. It has narrowed quite a bit, but it's not stopped flowing yet. And you can see with a view like this how well she actually blends in as well with that sand. It's unbelievable. In fact, the only reason I spotted her from a distance. The only reason I spotted her was I was scanning with my binoculars from up on the opposite bank and noticed her ears and her tail flicking. So I can actually hear some thunder rolling in at the moment as well. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait here and see what happens. Hopefully she gets up just now and leads us over to her cubs, but I'm definitely going to enjoy her company in the meanwhile.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, this could become a reality. Timbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of WildEarth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the WildEarth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of February 2021 and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide, and most importantly the questions that you ask, give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a WildEarth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
There we go, first sighting of the baby meerkats. Oh my goodness. Ah, how cute is that? Look, hear no evil, see no evil, do no evil. There they go.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back, everybody. Just in time for us to turn off our decoction. There we go. I must warn you all that there are some biting flies that are eating through my shirt. So if you see me jump a bit, I do apologize. Okay, so our decoction has been made. Are you ready for the coloration? Now, decoctions are basically 2/3 water and 1 part product. So there is an enormous amount of bark root in there. Look at the color of that. Ooh, that looks bitter, doesn't it, Seb? I didn't bring your honey. Seb only drinks when I provide honey. Just let it go. I use my sieve to catch any bits. Okay, so I'm just going to let that cool down for a moment. And when we talk about the bark, I mentioned the powder before. So the bark powder is quite useful. It's been used as an all-round sort of, you can sprinkle it into the wounds of an individual if you happen to have an infection. It's been used to put into food to help with diabetes and also with menorrhagia, which is basically when ladies bleed between their cycle. So just to kind of bring things back into play. So that is with the bark. powder. The root powder, which over here I've made look like quite a banana actually. It looks quite funny. The root powder in general has been used as a bit of an elixir, a bit of a tonic. Can also be mixed into powder, into your porridge to help with constipation. It's been used to treat depressed fontanelle, abdominal pain, and it's also been used to look at treating miscarriages. So a very, very useful plant just in the powdered form. So without even getting to the decoction yet, we've seen how well this plant has been looked at sort of female fertility, and a very good reason why the elephants are utilizing it so much at this time. And now I'm going to need to add some water, but you haven't actually seen the color of it yet. You kind of did, but let's look at that. Isn't that incredible? Incredible. Okay, so been used for deworming, hematuria, if you've got blood in your urine, bilharzia, which often leads to having blood in your urine. It's an antiemetic, which means it prevents you from vomiting, so nausea. It's been used in diarrhea and colic, which is something that many sort of hind gut fermenting animals have. Horses and the like get colic, which is gas in the lower back intestinal area. So elephants, I'm sure, get that. Okay, let's put that down. I'm going to add a little bit of cold water, and I'm going to get ready to have a taste. Now, obviously, everybody loves to see my face when we do this, but this decoction itself has actually been used and applied intravaginally to assist in opening the birth canal in humans. So it's possible that, I know we've got a lot of elephants that are breeding this time of year, so it's possible they know that this going through their system has the potential to assist in that sort of breeding process as well. So that was because a young boy by the name of Ruben asked me, why are the elephants smashing all of the silver cluster leaf? And so I thought, well, let's discuss it, shall we? It smells lovely, but that might just be because this is my coffee cup. That is not good. That is not good at all. At all. Seb, you're not going to try any, are you? Not after the face I just pulled. Not without honey. So, I mean, having a look at the coloration of that, that's what the decoction does, is it allows you to really get the active ingredient out of there. And very well utilized, as I said, for female fertility in humans. So it's no doubt that elephants use it as well for their fertility. It's a time of year when females are going to come into estrus if they're not breeding at the moment. It's a time of year when many of our elephants are having babies. So there's not too much in the way of their talking about men fertility or how it affects men. So maybe the elephant bulls are just feeding it just because it tastes good. Maybe there's lots of nutrients in these pods that we don't really know about. But another culturally human sort of benefit is the beginning of harvests. In many parts of the world is sort of our summertime, or depends what you're harvesting, I suppose. Taking a branch of the silver cluster leaf and thrusting it into the ground outside your homestead is supposed to bring on abundance and wealth in the growing season. And at the same time, chopping down a fully grown tree is going to bring on thunderstorms. There's definitely thunderstorms brewing. I didn't chop it down myself. It was the elephants that did that. So we didn't get as far as making a bark infusion, but the bark infusion has been used in the past for washing the eyes and even to treat pneumonia. So from a medicinal point of view, this plant is all over the place crazy. I'm going to take my banana with me, and I'm going to bring a little bit of this home for Lauren and Darby to taste, because I know they're really into my medicine. No, they're not. Talking about Lauren, let's send you over to her. Cheers.
Oh, Stephen, that sounds lovely, but no, thank you. I have my spirulina. That is interesting enough to taste, and it's actually really gross, but I still drink it. Apparently it's going to make my hair grow. But anyway, Jared mentioned there were no attempts at my quiz, not one. So I'm going to take it that I stumped you all. For once, I've actually never successfully managed to stump you all. What was a new phylum discovered in the Kruger National Park, a new group of organisms that have never been discovered before in an area like this. And in fact, in 2016, it was jellyfish. Yes, jellyfish in the Greater Kruger National Park. The phylum being Cnidaria. It starts with a C, but you don't pronounce the C. Cnidaria. That also refers to coral. Coral and jellyfish are very closely related. And yes, they found them. I believe it was 2016. And they're indigenous. And what indigenous basically means is that they originate or they naturally occur in a particular place. You could also say native. So these jellyfish are indigenous species found in a really specific area of the Greater Kruger National Park, and it's called the Shingwedzi. I really apologize if I have pronounced that wrong. Shingwedzi River. So they're found in stagnant potholes, and when people looked a little bit closely into these potholes, they found jellyfish. Can you believe it? Jellyfish are on the species list for the Kruger National Park. And apparently it's a really famous rock formation known as the Red Rocks. And that's where you find them. And basically, they've arrived there through seasonal rivers or seasonal water flows. And then, of course, when it dries out, you're left with stagnant potholes, stagnant areas where you can find these jellyfish. And crazy. You can actually Google it. It's on Google. It's in one of the Sand Parks report. So I'm just going to conclude that I stumped you all. Freshwater jellyfish as part of the species list for the Kruger National Park. Okay. We can see something very nasty rolling in, but we're still going to do one more loop in case we can see Tandy's little one. It'll be here somewhere. Of course, as you all know, the vegetation, it's so overgrown. Oh, there's the giraffes we bump into. Ah, many of you are commenting on the scenery. Yes, we had an elephant. The elephant was part of the scenery, but sadly he wandered off. But we do have 5 giraffes, if not 6 possibly. Let's see if we can catch up with them. It's the same ones we bumped into earlier. But I have a funny feeling we might be a little bit too far away from home due to this nasty weather rolling in. We may have to sort of get a little bit closer to Djuma. But let's stop at the giraffes first. There's 1. Ah, there's 2. I can see you all. Giraffe sightings are always wonderful, but what I do find, is multiple giraffes together, which is essentially called a herd. Yes, we say tower and journey, which are lovely words in the English language, but really, it's a herd. And when you see multiple giraffes together, it's always something special. You never quite get the high numbers that you do in the likes of the Masai Mara here. But still, 5 to 6 is quite a lot. This one's running, Darby. Do you see that? And the impalas are running too. Why is everybody running? It's just 2 giraffes chasing each other, or if there's a predator nearby. Oh, that's the wind picking up. Rowan, you're saying they know something we don't know. Absolutely. I actually think they know a lot that we don't know. A lot. I'm not sure if you can hear this howling wind, but something is approaching fast and furious. Vin Diesel style. I think we may have to leave the giraffes, as beautiful as they are, and possibly get a little bit closer to home. We don't have a rain roof. Neither does Steve. But something is approaching very, very fast, so we're going to get closer to home. But yes, they absolutely know something. I have a whole sensory world. I just want to check that's a termite mound. Do you see the bottom of that tree, Darby, to the left? Is that a mound? Just let me check it's not something else. Most likely going to be a mount at this rate, but it's worth checking. Ah, yes, it's a beautiful termite mound. Leopard-shaped, of course. Wow. I hate to say this, but Steve was right. Don't tell him I said that. The storm is well and truly rolling in. And of course, the animals will feel the change in the atmosphere, the energy in the air long before we do. They will know bad weather is approaching. Even underwater animals will be very, very aware when there's cyclones, thunderstorms, tsunamis, all sorts, before we are aware of it. Did you see that lightning? Okay, this is not good news because we do have antennas, of course. We may have to power down if this lightning continues, everyone. So, forked lightning just up ahead. Okay, we're going to decide what we're going to do here. For now, over to Steve.
Hello, everybody. Well, the storm is coming. It's rolling in, and unfortunately, I mean, rain is not the end of the day when it comes to us, but when it is a huge storm with rolling thunder, like what we can see in front of us now, then, yeah, we have to be very cognizant of the fact that things can get dangerous. So that storm is in the direction we're heading, the camp. So if we do have to suddenly power down because of a lightning strike, well then, I'm terribly sorry if you lose us. And I promise I didn't chop down the tree. The lightning storm has been predicted. We've seen it building in the distance. And like I say, it's not the rain that's the biggest issue, but the actual lightning. We've got this massive big antenna on the back, which is basically just a superconductor. And Seb has just arrived back today, so we can't be having any of that now, can we? So anyway, I've still got quite a bitter taste in my mouth, I'm not going to lie. But what a wonderful plant, isn't it? The silver cluster leaf. And that beautiful yellow wood, I forgot to mention, has actually apparently been very well used for furniture. Traditionally, any furniture makers out there, nice yellow hue to your wood. It's got a nice smell. I think I need some cacao to wash my mouth out. Cacao's quite bitter, but it's lovely. That was really bitter. How dark it was. Goodness. So nice to get the roots. Last time I did a silver cluster leaf, I didn't have any roots. I was only able to use the bark. So, because the bark's below ground, it doesn't need to have the same sort of protection that a tree has above ground from fire and from many of the animals that will attack it. It's why porcupines dig. They get the nutrients, probably more nutrients out of the bark than they do out of the above ground. The above ground, there's a lot more dead material, a lot more sort of scarification, all the material that's there to protect it against dehydration, insects, and as well as herbivore attack. So underground it can be a little bit less protected, probably a little bit more absorbent. There were small roots coming off of that piece that I'd cut, so extra little bits to absorb the nutrients from around, and it's nice and fresh from being underneath the ground, which is really, really nice. I've still got that very earthy smell on my hands. I love having earth on my hands and under my feet. Barry had his cup. I should start bottling them and sending off little shot tasters to all of you back home. Those of you who brave, I can send them through. I remember Beck, who she always used to comment on how ugly my medicinal teas used to taste, even though she's never had one. Have you, Beck? No, you have not. I'll save one just for you. That one, I reckon's a goodie. The silver cluster leaf. Okay, I think we can slow down a bit. The storm doesn't look as close as I first anticipated. We're just starting to get that wind, which is the prelude to the storm. You can feel it coming now. There, that wind, as that starts to hit, first of all, gets you in the eyes, all the dust. I'm going to need some of my silver cluster leaf bark eye wash to get all this dust out. We're still going to slowly head back so that we are in a reach of camp if the lightning does strike, because, lightning is not ideal on an afternoon. Oh, you can smell it. You can smell the rain. The temperature just dropped by quite a few degrees. It's wonderful. But these are African summers, everybody. These wonderful changes in humidity from an incredibly warm and sticky day. I went for a sprint session today, which nearly killed me. And then it's so humid, you can't even keep yourself dry from the sweat. And then we go to this where it's starting to get a bit fresh and a bit cool, which is wonderful. But a characteristic low felt, high felt afternoon thunderstorm. It's already raining in Prrivate and Phinda, I believe. So I think they're headed home. We're heading back slowly. We're about 5 minutes away, just in case it really opens up. Yeah, here comes the rain. Raindrops are falling on my head. Okay, everybody, well, we're going to carry on, get ourselves nice and safe and make sure everything's dry, and we'll see you again shortly.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Okay, there's another big male coming in from our left here. Another big male, look at this. This is the one. Now you're going to see sparks fly, guys. Guys, it doesn't get better than this, though. Yes, unbelievable. Africa, I love you, eh?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily. Have you been watching WildEarth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. WildEarth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live WildEarth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
There's a grounding earthiness to this place that we feel in our ancestors. It's a place where, believe it or not, we evolved as a human species, and anyone who's come to Africa will understand that. The connectivity that the continent has to the person and to people's souls is next level. I am thoroughly looking forward to taking you on your next adventure when we explore all the small and big things.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. In a world full of upheaval, we all need a quiet and safe space to breathe. A place where anxiety and stress don't exist. A place where life carries on as normal. Escape to nature with WildEarth.
Well, great to be back with you folks. We have just entered a watering hole and we came in here to meet a researcher quickly because I saw his vehicle, just to see if there was any snakes around that we could potentially view. And just observing the nest and taking a look inside the nest chambers for any snake activity. This would be the Cape Cobra or the boomslang that would be visiting these nests now. And upon walking back, we saw a water bird, or waterfowl more specific,
crossing this pan. We were here this morning and we did a segment here with you folks on the beautiful sociable weaver nests. And I am 90% convinced it was a moorhen, but I'm almost 98% convinced it was a lesser moorhen, which is a bird that is very far off of its range. We do get a common moorhen. It's quite a largish waterfowl. So just the grey appearance and small body size is where I saw. Let's just take a look here, Morgan. So a less common moorhen is a fairly prominent species and widely distributed through South Africa and as well as Southern Africa. And if you take a look at the common versus the lesser, you'll see that the plumage is a little bit more grayer in colour, and then the red frontal shield isn't as prominent as it is on the common. And I am 90% sure that was a lesser moorhen, and that would be a fantastic bird to see. So if we take a look at the distribution range, take a look at that. Look how far we are off the distribution range. I should have a little pointer here for you folks, but sorry about that. But so what we're going to be doing is just doing a little birding over here, doing a little stakeout. If any other animals come into the sporting hole, it'd be great, but we have a lot of butterfly activity as well. So a lot of things to keep us entertained in the hopes that this bird will come out. Those are very small butterflies moving around the pan's edge, more than likely blues or hairtails. Those family groups are very alike, and it becomes a very big challenge in order to ID them. But coming down to the water's edge for a drink is what they're doing. And they're tiny. They're only about maybe 2 centimeters or a centimeter in total length. Minute little butterflies in comparison to the bigger species like African monarch and our beautiful brown veined whites. And it is just a hive of activity at the moment with butterflies. It's all coming down for a bit of moisture. See a lot of bees and flies buzzing around there as well. And it's lovely to see the diversity of butterflies. And the best way to ID them is to take a photo and then obviously zoom into the photo and then to see all these little markings on the wings. That's the easiest way. But when you get to this family called blues, some of them are, even in the hand, you are unable to identify them. So that's how tricky it becomes. But there are some other species that are really defined. So what we're going to do is we're going to see a position that we can maybe get a bit closer. Maybe we'll get a small camera and we'll get up close and personal with all these tiny little butterflies, and we'll see if we can ID them with you. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, and my butterfly knowledge is good, but not the best. But that's always room for improvement, eh? So if Morgan just gives us a view over here, you'll see this greenish Cindy. Morgan, so let's take a look at that green algae over there. Cindy, antelope and carnivores, their tummies are well adapted to drink out of bodies of water just like that. That's an algae buildup, and their tummies are really, really hardy to obviously cope with all types of microbes that will be found in bodies of water like this. And if you think about, us even drinking water, we can handle quite abrasive forms of water. I've heard about stories of the San, which are very, very early inhabitants of Southern Africa, and the true inhabitants of Southern Africa, where they would be hunting for 2-3 days, and obviously hunting through the Kalahari. It's a very dry and desolate place through a certain period of time. And when they came onto kills that lions have made, they would actually rush up, chase the lions off the kill, and the first thing they would do is open up the animal's stomach and get into the chamber, the rumen, the actual chamber that deals with the processing of plant matter. And with that, you have a lot of moisture, you have a lot of fluid in order to break down vegetation. And what they would do is they would put their hand in and grab some of the digested or semi-digested material, and from there squeeze the life-giving moisture out of it. So even we could handle stuff like this. Obviously, you've got to be very careful. I'm not saying that you can just go drink from any pan. Obviously, the correct knowledge on how to clean it and process it, great. But, if it was for survival, we could handle the stuff. But the animals, they are perfectly fine. So that green stuff over there, Morgan, if you can show us over there, that green stuff on the bank of the pan here, that's where that bird went into. And I'm hoping that it's going to pop out there and we're going to get a beautiful view of it. I had a message from a viewer that's very into his birding, and he says he's got a bird count already of 104 birds on Tswalu. And I'm hoping that this afternoon, if we've got some patience here, we can make it 105. And a very, very nice tick for me. And I just got a quick glimpse of it. And I like to make 100% sure. I need to look at that bird before I tick it off on my life list. Minamu. So if you look at Tswalu, we are a very arid area, and if you think about our rainfall, only between 200 to 400 mils per annum. This year, obviously, the heavens have really gifted us with a lot more, which we are very grateful for. But if you look at Tswalu in its western position, we have got quite a good diversity of butterflies. So Tswalu has 76 different recorded butterflies. I mean, that is just fantastic when it comes to Lepidoptera species. And if you look at butterflies, their distribution is, you have a very, very high diversity on the northeastern part of the country. And as you go down to the Western Cape, the far southwestern corner, your endemic rate goes up, but then your diversity drops. And if you look at butterflies, they are tied to certain type of plants, because in their larval stage they need a certain plant in order to eat and consume, grow and develop until they can finally pupate, and obviously they make that chrysalis. They stay inside there, they go through metamorphosis, they then emerge as an adult butterfly. So if you look at plant species actually if you look at the distribution of plants in South Africa, certain butterflies will be tied to these plants along or across the border of South Africa. But 76, really good. And some of them are really tricky. Sometimes I scratch my head and I think, how? There's minute differences in spots and dots and lines, shape of the wing, shape of the antenna, shape of the abdomen or the thorax. It becomes very, very tricky. Oh, big group of starlings coming in. How beautiful, the makwa dove again. And we should have these sociable weavers coming back home any minute. It'll be very nice to see and enjoy that with you folks. But let's send you over to another watering hole in Ngala.
Welcome back to andBeyond Ngala, everybody. I'm actually sitting at Clara Dam in the east, and we decided to leave that lioness at her den site. It is quite a sensitive sighting with such young cubs. We only want one vehicle around at a time and as little pressure as possible, so we actually made space for another vehicle with some guests to come in and have a look so we don't overwhelm her. But have a look at this beautiful scene in front of us. Clara Dam is looking so full. There's some hippos in the distance and some massive clouds coming in. And these are the small ones. The really big ones are actually further to the left. It's crazy. if you listen carefully, with the storm coming in, there's quite a lot of bird activity. And you can hear the thunder rolling. We can see some lightning in the distance. So quite like... There's an elephant as well, calling. Quite like Djuma, we are expecting a storm to hit sometime within the next hour. I think the hippos agree with me. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if the hippos start getting more and more active as the storm comes in, because it is so nice and cool at the moment. And I can actually see in some patches in the far distance on the left-hand side, which you can't see at the moment because they're unfortunately behind the vehicle, but I'll try and show you just now. You can actually see the bank of water, so the bank of rain coming down. Let's see if we can get a patch of it there. You can see a little bit of it coming in there, but it is unbelievable how dark that sky is. And it's even darker behind me. So I think we're expecting quite a lot of rain. It was actually supposed to hit us at around 5 p.m. here, South Africa time. And it's actually taking a bit longer to come in than expected, but it does make for some beautiful shots this afternoon. You can hear a lot of birds, red-billed buffalo weavers. The hippos are definitely making a nice noise today. But I'm going to sit here for a while longer. There was some fresh elephant dung as I was driving up here, so I'm hoping that some elephants are on their way. And in the meantime, I will send you to Steve with his elephants.
Well, fresh elephant dung in the storm. There's definitely rain on the way, and fresh elephant dung normally leads to elephants. Now, everyone, that wind is absolutely pumping from behind me. I'm trying to hide my microphone so that you don't pick up on the wind. But these elephants were a little bit agitated when we first found them, because the wind obviously affects their hearing and their sense of smell. But they've calmed down. I just said, hey, it's me and Seb. And they're like, oh, it's just you two. And they're very happy with that. Now they're back feeding on their marulas. But the wind is really, really, really pumping now. And I'm almost certain we're going to be blattered with rain soon. But it's all right. We're not far away. Elephants happen to be right outside camp, so very exciting. Sam, it's hard to say, really. I mean, many of the animals get affected quite badly by it because of the wind. I mean, can you imagine being a poor animal that has to survive in the darkness? All you've got is your okay vision and your sense of hearing. And then the wind comes along. So predators thrive in the stormy weather. But obviously lightning has the potential to affect any animal. I think it's all pretty random, though. Birds seem to have a very hard time in the rain. Monkeys and baboons always look very depressed in the rain, and I suppose you would be as well if you were caught in a huge storm and you had nowhere warm and dry to go. Elephants, though, they seem to love the rainfall, and they don't like the wind per se. It just puts them a little bit on edge. But the rain, they like it. They're big fans of the rain. And I'm trying to think if there's any other animal that might particularly not like the stormy weather at all. And I'm not sure off the top of my head. I quite like it if I'm indoors, to be honest. There's nothing like an afternoon thunder shower to cool everything down. Just like that, they've decided it's time to grow. Oh, there's a bull over on that side who's also not very happy. I think they've communicated with each other. Let's move up a bit so we can get a view of what's going to happen. is lightning in the distance. Let's listen for it to get an idea of the distance. As they walk down through the band of Terminalia cerussea, the silver cluster leaf, that we've spoken at length about this afternoon. They want to go and get out of the wind, and to do that, going down into the thickets, the depressions, is the only way. Okay, that lightning is a few kilometers away. Not sure if you can hear the thunder rumbling. One more movement up. You get those dark, stormy skies behind the elephants. That's going to do. They've turned again. Something is not happy with them, so we're not going to pursue them at all. We're going to keep a distance. Impalas are running all over the place. Everything that's moving. Oh. Okay, well, we're going to send you over to Lauren while we follow up on why these impalas are alarm calling.
Happy days, everyone. Storm rolling in, but the
Welcome back to andBeyond and Ngala, everybody. You can see how these clouds are rolling in. And just have a listen to all of the thunder as you can hear it. The frogs have also become more active. So I've actually also been noticing there are a lot of birds calling, along with the bubbling casinas that you can hear, that almost popping sound. So it is quite a beautiful evening here. And the hippos are actually venturing closer, so there's only that mom and calf that you've just seen yawning there at the back. The rest of them are slowly venturing over and towards the bank on the right-hand side here, and we know that the log that they are actually next to seems to be a territorial marking post for the dominant bull here. Every now and then you actually see him come up next to that log where he is now, and he might actually defecate. Have a look if there's there you go, splashing behind his tail. And yawning, and then he might still make a sound. You can see the poo flinging everywhere. So he often scent marks on that particular tree, and actually a week ago that tree was out of the water, so he used to come out of the water to defecate on it. And that's him marking his territory so that other bulls won't come in. Hippos are fiercely territorial animals, and even when this dam dries up in our dry season, he will be the last hippo remaining. The females and calves might leave, and he will stay here as long as he can, even when it's just a little mud wallow. You can hear some Egyptian geese, some blacksmith lapwings. Megan, this is a stunning view with the reflection at the moment, and especially with these hippos getting more and more active. It is so lovely to be able to spend time at the waterhole, especially now that it's filled up a bit. He almost looks like he's wanting to mark his territory again, although I don't think he will so soon. He's definitely spending some time smelling that log. So it is actually wonderful to see exactly how much this dam has actually expanded with the rains a week ago. It's definitely grown by quite a bit. To see that reflection literally from one side of the screen to the other is unreal. And a very dramatic sky in the background. We've actually got some hippos coming closer. You can see the bubbles there in the water. It's making a stream coming towards my left here. That's unreal. We're definitely getting more active as the day goes on and the weather rolls in. So the dominant male is actually following the hippo that's just popped up here. So that ripple you can see on the right is the dominant male coming over to follow her. Look at that bubble trail that he's leaving. So that's as he's running along the bottom of the dam, he's blowing bubbles out of his nose. Sipo, yes, hippos can definitely mate in the water, and they actually give birth in the water as well, but in the shallower sections where the baby doesn't have to worry about going completely under the water. But hippos will do majority of their activities in the water except for feeding. Feeding, they will come out. And that's because they know that they're safer in the water hole. So they spend majority of their time here. It's cool, they're not as affected by the sun because they are very sensitive to sunburn. This one is very curious. And so majority of the activities of a hippo involve being in water. It's actually, you can see all the very thick hairs on the nostrils and on the nose there. So the hairs on the tip of a hippo's nose and snout are really, really thick and quite sharp to the touch as well. And they're quite important for the hippos when they're using all of their senses. But interestingly enough, they also use that same section to chop the grass off. So they actually don't use their teeth to bite grass as other animals would. They use those very big hairy lips to actually rip the grass out. And then chew it and swallow it. But this hippo looks very curious. She's certainly watching us. They're actually quite strange looking animals, and I've always loved kind of learning about hippos in particular because they are so different to every other animal in how they live their life and how they do pretty much everything. Even the way that they look is different. Look at that size difference between the male and the female. That's unbelievable. The female's front left and the male is back right, the dominant bull. So I actually wouldn't be surprised. He's sticking very close to her. I wouldn't be surprised if she's almost getting ready to mate, actually. And those are the rest of the hippos, the rest of the pod that are busy talking back at the moment. And they're quite close to that territorial log of the males. Anna Marie, I'm sure they would. If the lightning does manage to hit the water, anything in the water will receive a shock, I should imagine. I haven't heard of many hippos being struck by lightning, but I would actually imagine they might be more prone to being struck by lightning out of the water. If they're, for example, in an open area with no trees around, they would be the highest point. But I have heard of some hippos being struck by lightning. However, all of the ones I've heard of have actually been out of the water. But yes, I would think so. That's actually a really unique question. Thank you, Anna Marie. I'd actually love to see one of these hippos come out of the water and start feeding because it's so unusual to see them out of the water, especially in kind of daylight. Usually they're only out during the night. And I think everyone underestimates the size of hippos because majority of the time all you see is their ears and their nose and their eyes sticking out. But actually they're incredibly large. They can weigh up to 3.5 tons. That's as much as this vehicle. And very, very tall as well. If I was to stand next to a hippo that was out of the water, it would be as tall as me. And I'm rather tall. I've always thought a very good comparison is if you know what watermelons are. I know some places don't really get watermelons, but watermelons are quite large. Oh, good yawn, speaking of. And if you put a watermelon in that hippo's mouth as she's yawning, you would actually be able to fit the entire watermelon at the back of her mouth. So that would be not even accounting for the open jaws, which would be twice as large as the back of her mouth, if not larger. Imagine that for size. You can fit an entire watermelon in there and she would have no problem chomping on it. It's one of those random comparisons that sticks with you once you've kind of thought about it. This light is actually getting even more beautiful at the moment. Is that a little family of Egyptian geese? That is so cute. There's actually quite a few adults on the side, but it looks like there's a few teenagers too. I think those are the Egyptian geese I heard calling earlier. So I'm definitely spending a bit more time here. It seems to be getting more and more active as the evening wears on. And just going to appreciate a few of the sounds and the smells as well that are starting to come up now.
It's no secret that nature can heal. Some of our WildEarth viewers are finding solace in the outdoors close to their homes during lockdown.
This is how I keep myself busy during lockdown. Beautiful little jumping spot.
I love walking in the open spaces near my home. Provides a moment of peace in a crazy world.
This is my fire escape with some of the birds I get to see. That's what it's like in New York City during lockdown.
Being in nature helps me to cope with the challenges of life and helps me to be humble and grateful.
It's magical watching everything turn into a winter wonderland as the snow softly falls.
Been doing lots of walking, dog walking, outside at parks.
This is my Ridgeback Drake. Our little slice of paradise is a provincial park called Hopewell Ross.
Connecting with nature is critical to stay positive during these tough times. WildEarth encourages you all to find time to escape to nature.
Hi, my name is Taylor McCurdy and I'm coming to you from eco training here on Pridelands. My most favorite animal in Africa has to be the elephant that's behind me, and this is Kumo, you'll meet him. But elephants just in general, they're really sociable, they're always doing something, and I love to see the interactions between the members of the herd.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth. Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a WildEarth explorer, this could become a reality. Tumbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of WildEarth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the WildEarth camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a WildEarth explorer before the end of February 2021 and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
We are having the most magical sighting. Look at this cuddle puddle. And Tsima's a Djuma girl. Davi, let's just keep a close eye on this hole. Davi and I think we saw and heard a cub. But I don't know if, because I am so willing for that to happen, I imagined it. Which, believe it or not, is really possible. I think Ntima was just suckling. Did it sound like more than one to you, Davi? Just sounded like one. I can't believe this. Ntima, have you got a secret you want to share with everybody? I honestly thought I saw a tiny little brown head, or black head, should I say. Oh, now all the cubs are getting active. Okay. This has been the most, I could cry with happiness. Everybody's just cuddled together in one big puddle. June was suckling, but now her little June bug is very much awake. There is another cub in there. I don't know if it's one or two. And Tima was tending to something. You can see, Swazi put his bottom in that hole before. And of course, he was just causing trouble and being notorious Swazi. But when Ntima was there, she was tending to something. She was in a position that the mothers take, looking after something that was nestled under her belly. I am convinced there's a cub. Wow. Let's hope I didn't imagine it, though. The other cubs, especially Corky's daughter, can also make that sort of squealing sound, that really high-pitched. But it didn't sound like it was coming from her. Oh, this is so magical. It's so good to see everyone. We've got Ntima, June, and all 6 cubs that we know of. And of course, we're losing light rapidly due to the horrible weather. And if the rain does get any heavier, we'll have to leave, I'm afraid. Oh, Ntima. It's tricky, the light, although maybe in your picture it actually looks quite bright. Through the human eye right now, it's difficult to see. It's at that time of day where really it's tricky to see. So it could have been a cup head, also just could have been a shadow. But she was definitely in, blocking that entrance or dentrance. Lulu, you love the sounds. I didn't actually realize you could hear them. Isn't it great? See, and Tima's still remarkably small, especially compared to June and Ribbon, even Corky. She's going to be 4 next month. It's going to be her birthday. And she's still quite slim and a lot more petite. Oh, the weather's really changing here. It's so good to see everybody. June's little June bug is no longer little. I think I'm going to have to remove that word from my vocabulary. I've only been gone 2 weeks. Oh, I think I'm going to have to spend every drive here. Hope we'll get a nice size comparison here between June and Ntima, I think. But Ntima, we've been suspicious at for a while. I saw really prominent mammary glands on her, and I think Tristan thought he saw suckle marks. So there's definitely, I really feel Ntima's given birth. Ntima's a daughter of Ribbon. Respectable, right in front of the car. Lineage to the sort of direct in line to the throne, right above my head here. Sandra, cuteness overload. I know, I couldn't believe it. I've been a little bit disheartened today when I come here every single time and they're not here. They all came up to greet the car. They're very habituated, they're very relaxed, and hyenas in general are incredibly curious animals. I mean, look at Mr. Swazi. It's very dark. We may have to put on infrared soon, but now that Ntima's not at the dentrance, most likely we won't get any views. When the cubs are very, very young, they respond to only mum's call and mum's smell. So the mothers will put their head, into the entrance and make a call. And the cubs will recognize their mother's call. They all sound the same to us. But the cubs will recognize, and then they know it's safe to come out of the den. Mom is here. But slowly but surely, look at June's little bug. She's now fully running around this den, terrorizing everyone. She's no longer going to stay in the den. She's going to follow the other cubs. That's her there. She's going to follow Ribbon's boy. She's going to follow Heart's pair. But in the early stages, between about, birth and 6 weeks, they will only come out when mom calls, and they're very unsure. They're unstable on their feet, and they're weak. They're very scared of what lies beyond the den. And then once they discover it's all fun, everything's fun, you can cause so much trouble, then of course you can't get them back inside.
Just need to go to infrared.
Okay, we're going to go into infrared now. The picture is going to change. We've lost too much ambient light. Okay, and while we do that, we are going to send you lot down to Tswalu.
Oh, we've basically got a bird party going on here at the moment. Big group of wattled starlings have come down to the water's edge to do a bit of bathing. So there's a lot of noise, a lot of activity going on there. There they fly. And then we've got all the sociable weavers coming home to these nests. So it's just an eruption of noise here. Armored ground crickets calling around us. It's that high-pitched creaking sound. That camel thorn, that old, the remnants of the camel thorn, they're providing a beautiful structure for those birds to find a place to perch. Very, very busy. So general hygiene for birds is a very important behavior displayed across the board. You always need to ensure that your feathers are up to tip-top condition. Any mites or other parasites there within the feathers can be detrimental to flight and as well as aerodynamics. So keeping them in very good, healthy condition is very important for birds. And birds bathe and preen a lot, as we've seen on Tswalu. Yeah. Lots of activity here. Bernie, yes, fantastic sounds, especially these sociable weavers behind us. They've just now all started arriving. We're going to try and swing around. Let's maybe see if we can get a view here. Let me actually move us back a bit, Morgan. Just hold on tight there, pretty folks. I'm going to move us back slightly so we can get a better view of these lovely birds. Coming home and watching these birds come back to the nest is such a lovely treat. Just get us nice and level here. There we go. So they'll come back in little flocks, 20, 30 at a time, and they'll do a little bit of maintenance, check that the nest site is all good, and from there they make their way into the nest. But I want you to focus on how this bird is moving into their nest. They're basically flying vertically, straight up, into the entrance. So the precision of the bird, and as well as the thrust that it needs to move up into the nest is quite remarkable. And this is where we were scratching around looking for a crowbar not too long ago, through all this thick stuff here. Obviously you've got to be very careful, but as I know from my personal experience, a snake would rather choose to flee than physically bite you. It can feel the vibrations, it knows that you're a very big organism, and it would be out there very, very quickly. Come more. Wow, look at this. Absolutely incredible. There we go, Morgan's got us a nice one in view there. Some more here on the branch. Morgan's going to give us a better view, and these guys are going in and out of the nest here as well. It's a really remarkable thing to witness, sitting like this so close to a nest, but then watching their behavior, especially coming back like this early evening, is such a treat. And how they remember where their nest is in the amount of entrances that are under that nest. I'm just fascinated on how they know and remember which one is theirs. They also need to be on the lookout for things like barbets. Acacia pied barbet will actually hijack a nest early evening like this. So a pair needs to be very careful that when they get back, they need to make sure there's no intruders in and around this nest. And if there is, they will try and actively defend or chase off that hijacker. Into the nest. And just the sound for me is absolutely beautiful. Light twittering. Stevie, nests can last for a very long time, and it's something that is continuously maintained and renovated. They don't stop. They really do not stop. So this nest, I would say, is well over 10 plus years to get to this ginormous size. I mean, it is a very large structure. This tree is supporting 3 separate nests. If Morgan just gives us a little bit of an out view, you're going to see there's actually a split. There we go. You can see there's a split between the 2 nests in the central part of your view. That was actually joined not too long ago. And I just spoke to a researcher now, and he says there were some naughty baboons here that came and did a little damage on this nest. And we don't know if they were going for the eggs and chicks. Obviously, it would be very hard to get up and in there to acquire any type of food items. But they could be feeding on various types of insects in and around the nest, skinks and lizards. But obviously with their weight, I mean, a baboon's a fairly heavy animal, weighing about 20, 30 kilograms, I think maybe around about there. And obviously with their weight, they have actually physically broken another nest that's very close to this one. Unfortunately for the sociable weavers. Very busy. So once they go in here for the night, they will remain in these chambers. And if you walk under the nest or you make a bit of noise, you'll find the whole colony erupts in this like wave of chitter-chatter, almost to say to each other, hey, there's something there. But we're going to reposition the vehicle and get you folks a better view on this beautiful nest. But for the meantime, let's send you over to Lauren very quickly.
Oh, everybody's full of beans. It just took a split second, and my goodness. Sorry, they keep running around. I don't think there's a point in repositioning because they keep running back and forth. And one thing I must add is June. Now, we assume that June could be the lowest ranker on the sort of proverbial ladder, also known as the hierarchy and spotted hyenas. And I've never seen a mother like June, even from last year with Corky and June herself last year, all the sort of mothers that we've had in the clan, Pretty. She is so unbelievably attentive to her little one. She's very protective over it, and she chased and chased and chased this little one round the den to try and grab it in her mouth and put it back in the den. And of course that's not going to happen, and it didn't happen. But she really tried. I've never seen a mother really pick their cub up in terms of hyenas as much as I have June. Oh, June, dear, you've done so well. June is also the mother of Sutu. And June's also coming. Oh, see, there we go. Just checking where my baby is. June, good luck, because I don't think your little girl, I think it's definitely a girl, is going to go inside. See, she's trying to pick her up. Brandstand, I would have said no. It's a very small termite mound. But they're all inside there. Now there's a dentrance and a dexit. Great. There's 2 holes, if you like, that they can enter and exit. And it must go a lot deeper than we realise. So although it's a termite mound, and it most likely was sort of burrowed by a porcupine, when the hyenas take over the mound, the cubs themselves, because the adults can't fit inside, the cubs themselves will dig. They will sort of renovate and adjust and change things down there. But I think it must be a lot deeper than we can even begin to imagine, because all 6 of them fit in there. And I think there's more than 6 now. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight now. And we didn't catch it on camera either. But I'm convinced that's what Antimo was doing there. So that's my mission for the next few weeks, is to come and sit. And one day, patience will pay off. Oh, June, girl. June is a big hyena. Considering she may be the lowest ranker now, she's really not lost much of her muscle mass. Corky did, and Corky's fall from grace. But June's still a big girl, shall we say? Where's your baby, June? Where's Junebug? And June is obsessed with the dentrance right now. And normally when other adults do this, it's because something's drawn them. And I think she's drawn by the scent of the other cub. It's so good to spend time with the Djuma clan. Nicanova, I agree. I've tried very hard today. I think this is my 5th visit. And there's actually a stump here that I've hit every single time and cursed myself for doing so. But it's been worth it to just come. They're all alert. There's a storm. The wind is howling. And there's the potential of a new cub. The clan is thriving. Really, it's thriving. Considering what they went through in November 2019, the matriarchal takeover. Oh, now we're just looking at an empty termite mound. That's a wonderful sighting. Okay, we're definitely going to sit here as long as we can, as long as there's an adult. But for now, we're going to send you across to the Vov and his elephants.
Well, thanks, Lauren. I'm sure you're happy to be back with the clan. We have caught up with, I don't think it's the same herd we saw before, but it might be. They're feeding on some more marulas. The wind, remember everybody, is quite mobile. And these elephants don't have to push the tree because the marulas are just being dropped by the wind. So there is an enormous storm brewing. I don't know if it's going to hit us. We've had a little bit of rain. There's been a lot of lightning in the distance, but it seems like it might be just slipping past. There's definitely a lot happening in the south from where we are, in the west, towards the mountain. Being very dramatic, everybody. It's being very dramatic, the storm. But it happens sometimes. You have this huge build-up and then it just slips past you. And it's typical of these savanna areas called orographic rain. You can see the lights shining up in the background. Orographic rain, it could fall anywhere. And it does. Sometimes it falls everywhere. Sometimes it's just patchy. Here comes the rain. Talking about the patchiness. Okay. Here it comes. Okay, I think we're going to start heading on home because that storm we were talking about is about to break. So good luck, Lauren, at the den. I wonder how long she's going to sit there for, but we're going to send you over to the west, to Tswalu Kalahari, who I don't think has any rain.
Well, that's a better view. Look how beautiful that nest looks, and now we can really see these birds entering and exiting the nest. I mean, look at that, they're like little bullets going up into the nest. So you got to think about the precision, because the bird is flying up, giving enough thrust to push it upright against gravity. And then just before it hits the entrance, it's closing its wings and it's holding on, pushing its legs out, and then its claws are grabbing on the inner side of the nest or the entrance. And the noise, you can hear the chicks, they're high-pitched. That's the chicks within these chambers now, welcoming the parents back with a bit of food. I need to do a bit of maintenance. So I'm sure... Oh! That was a pygmy falcon that came through here very quickly. So I'm sure I've mentioned before, but why not again? So if you look at this structure, everything is held together via... Oh, wow, I don't even know. So there's no knots. There's no glue holding this mammoth nest together. All that material you can see there is basically pinched and wedged into other pieces of material. And if you see there, each one of those pieces of grass has been collected by one bird. So one bird flying off collecting one piece of grass. Not two, not three, one. Bringing it back and finding the perfect spot to add on to this mammoth nest. I mean, look how huge it is. And it makes the landscape look small from this distance, and Morgan giving us a very nice view, as well as perfect sight of how to see this structure. Oh, Elissa, how much would one of these nests weigh? So very large nests can exceed 1 ton. 1 ton of dry material collected by these little busybodies. But on average, you're looking at these smaller portions, especially, let's see where we can see a smaller portion. So let's see on the bottom right-hand corner there. That could easily be weighing 100, 150 kilograms, if not even more. Let's say 200, just to be sure. So it is remarkable to think about how much energy these little birds have expended to collect material for the nest building activity. But then as well as think about the tree and the weight that this tree is supporting. I mean, it is tremendous. It just shows you how important these trees are within the Kalahari. Look at them all lining up over here, Morgan. There's a few of them lining up and doing a bit of preening. You can also see it's a branch used quite a lot with all the scat that is lining that nest. I mean, lining that branch, sorry. You can see the beak is very distinctive. It's got like a bluey grey colour to it. And then around the back end of the beak, or near the bird's face, you can see this almost dark ring that encases the beak meeting the face. Tiny bib presented as well. And if you look very closely there, you can see these beautiful little scale-like feathers just under the wing. Look how beautiful that is. Stunning. Very beautiful thing to sit here. That's by far one of my favorite things to do with guests while on Tswalu, and sitting here with a gin and tonic and conversing lightly and enjoying these sounds is such a special thing. Well, just an update there. Unfortunately, everybody else is rained out and you guys are stuck with us, but that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with that. Got the sights and the sounds to enjoy. I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes just to allow you guys just to listen to all this noise. When I first got to Tswalu, I couldn't believe the size of these nests. I'd read about sociable weavers when I was guiding in the Eastern Cape, but when I got here and I saw them, I'm absolutely blown away. Still to this day, I'm just astounded on their skill or their craftsmanship in order to create these beautiful nests. There is almost more nest than tree. But if you look at the nest, so a lot of people ask, isn't the tree negatively affected? So in conjunction, the nest is working with the tree and the tree with the nest. So if you think about the nest being here, all the droppings that these birds would deposit on the ground actually enriches the soil. The roots then take up that nutrients and then use it. Phosphorus is a very important element for the development or healthy functioning and growth of trees or plants in general, let me say that. And if you think about all the nutrients that the tree is able to take up from the activity of the birds being here, it is really important. We have found that trees with nests actually have a higher leaf count, and in turn obviously can photosynthesize more, but has a higher leaf count because of the activity of the birds. And where they're creating these nests is on the thicker stems and branches of these trees, and not actually over the foliage. You can see using the thick part of the trunk and the stem. Obviously the leaves is the energy making plant of this tree. Wow, the wings as they quickly take off. Oh, Leslie Ann, is this the same nest that we found the snake? So, Leslie Ann, I think that JP might have had a snake here, if I can remember correctly. But just to my knowledge, the snakes that I've had around nests were near the dam. That's where we had the Cape Cobra scaling up and then eventually into the nest itself. But if my memory serves me correct, JP was here with Craig not too long ago, and they viewed a Cape Cobra within and around this nest. And when, like I said, when we got here, our researcher was here, and he was actually looking for a cobra that's in this area. And I thought, whoa, what are the chances that we could meet up with this beautiful reptile and we could spend some time with it? But it seems like it's gone off for a little while. But yes, they are focusing heavily on these nests for nourishment at the moment. And not so much now. I've found activity actually has dropped with the snakes. September, October, November, that was the peak of where we were seeing lots and lots of tracks and lots of snakes. And now it's kind of gotten a bit quieter on the snake side. Bernie, I could watch and sit all day and watch them fly in and out. It is really lovely to see them fly in and out the nest, and just to appreciate, the skill and the energy and the precision. Definitely the precision that it takes one to fly in and out of these nests. And I mean, they're not doing it slowly. They're really flying in there. It's not like it's, the birds flying and they're kind of hovering there for a couple of seconds and then going up. I mean, they're flying straight in. And the reflexes are lightning quick. So I'm just going to try and allow you guys to tap into my senses right now. I didn't catch the viewer's name, but I did catch the message. Do social weavers only use this tree, the camel thorn? Not particularly. It is a favored tree because of its sturdy nature, and its very, very strong makeup. But social weavers would also use shepherd's tree. They would also use silver cluster leaves. They would even use windmills at times. Anywhere with these birds, a colony can establish a bit of material to start a nest, they will do it. If you ever have the privilege of driving through the Northern Cape, when you get high into Northern Cape, you'll see a very distinctive sight as you're driving on the national roads. You'll see an electrical pole or a telephone line, and it's literally one pole going up, and then you have this massive bulbous structure on the very tippy top of it. And that would be from the social weaver nest. The social weaver, sorry. So anywhere they can accumulate the material to build, they do. But they do really favor in Tswalu these beautiful camel thorns. And you want to build somewhere where your foundation is very strong, because you don't want to put everything into the nest and suddenly a limb breaks. The stronger your foundation, the more fruitful you'll be in the end. So it's amazing to think about birds and their variations. So if you look at social weavers, there's actually a slight variation in colour and weight as you go into southern Africa. You find them in the Northern Cape, so it's the northern part of South Africa, and then you find them going to a bit of Botswana, the southwestern corner, and then they shoot northwest into Namibia, and they basically go up the central part of Namibia. And there is actually a variance of these birds, but all display the same behavior of building these elaborate nests. Lovely sounds. So, like I said, I want to try and allow you guys to tap into my senses right now. I find that using one's senses in the bush is a very important tool, and also it enriches the experience. So you guys can hear the lovely sounds made by these birds. You can see the wonderful views that Morgan is busy giving us. But then if you look at the other element of here is a sense of smell. And the smell that I'm getting here is this beautiful, sweet, but almost like a musty, soury type smell, but a very, very pungent, but very, very strong odor. And that's from the accumulation of all the sour grass in this area. So it enriches the nostrils and almost relaxes you along with the sound. And then the cool of the night is starting to set in now. So now the temperature has obviously the sun's released its grip, and now the land is starting to lose its heat at a very, very quick rate. And basically the cold of the night is starting to set. So even my legs now are starting to feel a little chilly. And even my back, I can feel behind on my neck hairs, I can feel the cool breeze starting just gently. That's basically the onset of night starting. If you're ever in the bush, stop and appreciate. Close your eyes, listen. Close your eyes, feel. Smell, take deep breaths. Breathe it all in and try and just soak it up. Because we do really take our senses, for granted. Especially myself, the ability to see, hear, smell, feel. Imagine you couldn't feel anything. Imagine you couldn't feel the wind on your skin or the grass running over your legs or water. Imagine not feeling water, swimming in water. It's lovely. So it's really something that unfortunately myself, I do take for granted sometimes. But being here, nature just teaches me all the time. Every couple of minutes or every few hours, got to be grateful. Got to be grateful. Because no matter where you are, nature is around you. You can see the setting sun, that just the top part of this canopy is illuminated, giving this beautiful broken glow within the top parts of the tree. And then obviously the background over there just looking so beautiful. The shadows being casted now from the mountain. Those long shadows now starting to really stretch out the landscape. And then obviously being close to this pan, we've got this very, very strong earthy smell because of the water there. So that is by far the most strongest sense for me in my sense of smell now. Can hear the armored ground crickets busy calling around as well, looking for mates.
Do you dream of traveling to a far-flung wilderness location where life continues as normal? A place where you can escape to nature and breathe. If you become a WildEarth explorer, then this could soon become a reality. Subscribe today and stand a chance to win regular travel prizes. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on WildEarth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, two to go. How cool is this?
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Hi, I'm Damon, and I come to you live every day from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I think the most underrated wild animal is the buffalo, and I think many people want to see them because they're a member of the Big Five. But then once it's ticked off the list, it's on to go and look for things like big cats or herds of elephants. It's quite a sensory overload, taking in their smell and the sounds of them moving around you.
Catch up with the guides daily here on WildEarth.
All right. Well, what a lovely opportunity we have to wind down and settle in for the night. And spending, extended period of time, just like we've seen with Safari Life, spending time and really allowing one to view and understand the complexities of nature is very important. And what a treat it is that we could sit here with these birds and enjoy all nature around us, including the birds. So that's why we're talking about their time schedule, obviously these birds coming back home now, just a quick reminder that tomorrow we will be starting 30 minutes later for the sunrise safari. So we will be kicking off, we will be jumping on board at 6 and not 5:30. So Safari Live jumping on board at 6 a.m. Central African time tomorrow. A little change, just keeping aligned with the beautiful circumnavigation of the sun, and just so that we can have the best opportunities to view animals. So we had a disturbance there where about 40 birds Moyeni, that's a very good question that you've asked there. Do they ever catch fire in hot, dry weather? If we have a lightning storm and it strikes one of these nests, it will catch light. The material is fairly dry, but if you think about a lightning storm, you have a lot of rain. So the nest will soak up quite a lot of water, and it's a very slim chance that it will catch light in a downpour. But through dry periods, and if you look at all systems or all ecosystems, you do go through wet and dry seasons. And through a very dry season, if we have the unlikely event of a fire, which is a very bad thing, obviously we don't want that. It's very important though, let me just add that, it's very important. Fire basically burns out old, dead stock and allows the rejuvenation of new growth to stem. And if you think about nutrients, it also increases the viability of the soil as well. But yes, so if we have a dry season, and if, for example, we have a rogue fire, this nest will go up very, very quickly, unfortunately. The birds will have time to escape, depending on the wind direction, depending on how the fire burns, because you do have fires that move very slowly, and then you have fires that move very quickly, and they burn very, very hot. But a nest like this here, if we had to have a flame under this nest will take light. There's a lot of material there that would be very, very flammable. But a great question, a great thought process there, thinking about fire. And fire is very important. If you look at the fynbos is a vegetative group in the Cape, in the Western Cape of South Africa. Some of that vegetation actually needs fire every couple of years in order to seed or germinate seeds. They've got special fire casing seed capsules that need hot fire in order to open up. And then if you think about the ash and all the stuff, all the debris on the ground after fire, that is viable nutrients for a new germinating seed. Infinite, I am with you 100%. They blow my mind every time. You'd think that you'd come here and you'd say, oh, it's just a sociable weaver nest. But every time I have the luxury of sitting here and observing, I'm just astounded each and every time. And it's a wonderful comment that you made, the Infinite. Thank you very much. It's a very beautiful comment. Well, burning a lot of energy, busy finding the right entrance. You can see that bird was a little bit confused there, trying to find out which nest was it. Which nest was it? You can see some birds coming out and almost readjusting, like, oopsie, wrong home. Absolutely beautiful. And look how much the light has changed just within 5 minutes. Clark, is it only the male that builds the nest? Well, you are halfway right. The male and female build and maintain the nest, and males actually build at a quicker rate or a faster rate than that of females. I'm not exactly or entirely sure why. Maybe it is to impress a lady, just to make sure that he has got the skills and the good stuff in order to provide. But both male and female will maintain and continuously add on to these structures. You'll see generation after generation of birds will accumulate and apply material here onto this one nest. I would really like, everything in my inside is saying that, but I'd really like to go and stand there to show you how big that nest is. But I know if I walk there, there would be a lot of birds flying out from that nest. So not to disturb them, I'm sure that you guys can grasp the concept of how big that nest is. Obviously, we are not here to disturb and alter. As I like to say, we're just passing through. You'll find that the next 20 or so minutes, there'll be a quick dip. Everybody will go still. Demi, that chirping will stop very shortly, and then the other sounds of the Kalahari will start. Jackal will call in the distance, spotted hyena maybe from the north. We'll have the spotted eagle howl, hooting, maybe a barn owl with its very sharp and distinctive screech. The barking geckos I can hear just in the distance. They're just a bit too far for us to hear, but I can hear them. Obviously a very common and very prominent sound through the Kalahari. And then these armoured ground crickets will go throughout the night. You can hear other sounds behind us. The beautiful bubbling casinas. And then obviously the night sky will open up and there will just be a lot of craziness going on with the stars. Tswalu is amazing for star viewing. And we have some guides here on our guiding team that are exceptional when it comes to understanding the layout of the night sky. It gives me goosebumps all over my body thinking about just looking up into the night sky, thinking about looking at all those stars, millions and billions of light years away from us, and us having stories behind them and painting pictures in the night sky, basically. That's my favorite thing to do, is put a blanket down and for 2-3 hours you just get absolutely lost into this dark tapestry of the night sky. Look there, it's starting to quiet down now. How sudden was that? Well, we can't thank you folks enough for joining us. That has been absolutely wonderful, especially having the time to sit here and watch and understand these lovely birds. But be sure to join us tomorrow morning for the sunrise. And remember, we are jumping on board at 6 a.m. Central African time, half an hour later. And enjoy the snooze-in, basically. But thank you so much for your time and efforts. It's been wonderful. The sounds now are starting to slow down. You can hear there's not so much chirping. Everybody's found their place. And now it's time to go to sleep. There'll be a little chit-chattering throughout the night, but not too much. Especially if there's no disturbance. We'll see you folks tomorrow morning.